when the movie came out, all of this drama started happening because people online noticed, I would never notice this, but people online noticed it, that Justin Baldoni was still following the other cast members, but none of them were following him on social media anymore.
I have a master's degree in business, and today I'm going to use it to analyze the glorious downfall of Blake Lively as it pertains to the It Ends With Us cast drama.
Blake Lively has flipped the narrative around, you guys, and her latest move has people looking at Justin Baldoni quite sus. Cause if there is any truth to this, he literally mirrored himself on his role on Colleen Hoover's It Ends With Us. Not only that, but Justin's legal team has also responded, and the whole he said, she said situation is the messiest thing about this movie so far. It is such a mess, and we have got to talk about it, so without further ado, let's get into it. By now, y'all might have already heard that Blake Lively has officially filed a legal complaint against her It Ends With Us co-star Justin Baldoni. But it's not what you think. This scandal runs deep. Blake is not holding back, accusing Baldoni of SA and straight up launching a campaign to ruin her image. If you thought that this was just some baseless Hollywood whisper, their paperwork is crazy. Isn't it frightening how two lead characters in a movie about DV have now turned around to accuse each other of literally the same? Remember the film It Ends With Us? But wait, Blake plays a woman trapped in a toxic relationship with Baldoni's character, who is both charming and abusive. Kind of ironic, right? Well, according to Blake's filing, the set itself wasn't much different. She claims the whole vibe was hostile, so hostile that she demanded a meeting to address the situation, and in attendance alongside was her hubby, Ryan Reynolds, just in case. Now, this meeting in question happened in January, and that, guys, is the meeting that marked the last-ditch effort to fix the chaos. Safe to say that it was unsuccessful, otherwise it wouldn't have come to this. Actually, that meeting went so bad that Blake's filing dramatically calls it a showdown. According to the legal filing, Ryan's presence wasn't appreciated one bit, allegedly because the purpose was to confront Baldoni and another producer over what Blake called repeated SA and other disturbing behavior on set. Now, Baldoni's team isn't just brushing this off, they're calling the claims categorically false, to the point of hiring a crisis manager, saying Blake threatened to derail the movie unless they gave in to her demands. Whew. The drama. Now, let's not forget that besides taking a lead role, Justin was also the director and co-chairman of the Wayfair Studios, the production company behind It Ends With Us. Blake's legal complaints point fingers not only at him, but also at Jamie Heath, Wayfair's CEO, accusing both of them of behavior that is inappropriate and unwelcome. Not just toward Blake, but other people on set too. Blake really chose war on this one, guys. We're talking about a list of 30 demands Blake made during that meeting to try and keep the film afloat. You want to hear some of the wildest ones? She asked Baldoni and Heath to stop bringing up their adult content addiction and to quit talking about their private parts around her and other crew members. Oh, and apparently Baldoni kept trying to add spicy scenes to the movie that Blake never agreed to, including physical intimacy and on-camera climaxes. Like, excuse me? Blake also demanded Baldoni stop claiming he could talk to her dead father. Oh, and there's more. Blake Lively is also accusing Justin Baldoni and Wayfarer Studios of running a full-blown, multi-tiered plan to destroy her reputation. She says this whole thing was carefully orchestrated to silence her and anyone else daring to speak out about the toxic environment Baldoni and James Heath allegedly created on the set of It Ends With Us. In Blake's statement, she made it clear that her goal isn't revenge, but justice. She hopes her legal action will expose the sinister, retaliatory tactics she claims were used to harm her and others who speak up about misconduct, while also outrightly denying planting or spreading any negative info about Baldoni or Wayfarer Studios. The production team apparently didn't exactly deny involvement of a crisis manager. Instead, he justified it, saying Wayfarer Studios only brought in the PR team because Blake was making multiple demands and threats during production. What kind of threats, you ask? Friedman claims Blake threatened not to show up on set or promote the film if her demands weren't met, something he alleges could have led to the film's downfall during its release. Now, here is where things get even messier. While the film itself was a box office hit, critics weren't exactly clapping. Some slammed it for romanticizing DV, a claim that hit hard given the movie's sensitive subject matter. And as if that wasn't enough, co-star Brandon Sklenner threw more fuel on the fire with a cryptic Instagram post hinting at a falling out between Blake and Baldoni. Baldoni. Fans couldn't help but notice these two avoided each other on the red carpet, sending the rumor mill into overdrive. In one of her interviews during the media tour for the film, Blake said during an interview with the BBC that she was deeply invested in the project and that she felt a heavy responsibility to honor the book and its fans. She described the story as a roller coaster of emotions, funny, painful, inspiring, and tragic all at once. Lily is a survivor and a victim, but these labels don't define her, Blake said, adding that the film was made with lots of empathy. But y'all, if you can remember, this didn't even go down well with a lot of people who took it that she described the feeling of a DV survivor as funny. Guys, the launch of It Ends With Us was hell for Blake Lively, but these new developments aside, she was equally found at fault on so many media tours, given the way that she answered some questions insensitively. But empathy or not, the off-screen drama is painting a much darker picture than we thought. And just as we feared at the launch, the fallout from Blake's allegations might just overshadow the film's success. And just when you thought that things couldn't get any messier, It Ends With Us author Colleen Hoover has officially entered the chat, and she is siding with Blake Lively. In a bold move, Hoover took to Instagram on December 21st, the very same day Blake's harassment allegations against Justin Baldoni hit the news, and her message was in total support for the actress. In an emotional Instagram stories post, Hoover, 45, shared a snapshot of herself hugging Blake at a film screening and praised her co-star, writing, "Blake Lively, you have been nothing but honest, kind, supportive, and patient since the day we met. Thank you for being the exact human that you are, never change, never wilt." And honestly, the last line feels like a not-so-subtle dig at Baldoni and all of the chaos surrounding the allegations. And here's where things get even more layered. Blake Lively and Colleen Hoover aren't just collaborators. They're legit friends after connecting in this project, and Blake has been vocal about how Hoover means so much to her. Earlier this month, Blake posted a heartfelt tribute on Instagram for Hoover's birthday, complete with adorable photos of the two snacking together while Wicked played in the background. "Everyone who knows this woman is changed for it," Blake wrote, hyping up the author with a level of love that you can just feel through the screen. She called Hoover calm and steady, praised her quiet fortitude, and even gave a playful shout out to her favorite drink, Diet Pepsi. Blake added, "She always chooses the kindest path," showing just how much admiration she has for Hoover. And it's clear that the feeling is mutual. Hoover has nothing but complimentary things to say of Blake, especially when it comes to her work on It Ends With Us. Back in August, Hoover told People that Blake's performance as Lily Bloom wasn't just good, it was captivating, stunning, and emotional. She even admitted that Blake's portrayal adds layers to Lily that Hoover hadn't even imagined while writing the book. "There aren't enough words to describe her phenomenal talent," Hoover gushed, adding that Blake brought Lily to life in a way that exceeded all of my expectations. "It's clear that these two have a deep respect for each other, and that bond is making Hoover's public support of Blake in this scandal hit even harder." Anyways, moving on, what kind of made Blake's allegations hold salt was that apparently Baldoni and his team agreed to stop trying to sneak in new explicit scenes that weren't in the original script that she signed on for. Like, how is this even happening in the first place? The agreement seemed like a win for Blake, but according to her complaint, Baldoni flipped the script soon after, and that's when the retaliatory campaign also started. And y'all, it gets nastier. Blake's complaint includes private texts and emails, yes, receipts, where Baldoni's crisis PR reps allegedly discussed planting stories to paint Blake as a weaponizer of feminism. They even allegedly plotted social account takedowns and ways to stir up internet drama, like starting threads of conspiracy theories to twist the narrative against her. The complaint itself is just a foundation to a full-blown discrimination lawsuit in California. And if all of this goes to court, the mess will definitely be next level. And just like that, y'all, curtains are literally closing for Justin, cause in a dramatic turn of events, WME, one of the biggest talent agencies in Hollywood, has officially dropped Baldoni as a client. Without a doubt, people believing this decision is reportedly tied directly to the ongoing damning situation outlined in Blake's complaint. According to Deadline, the accusations, ranging from intrusive behavior to a full-on smear campaign, were too much for WME to ignore. On the flip side, WME is still standing by Blake, continuing to represent her while cutting ties with Baldoni, literally drawing a line in the sand. This back and forth is getting real messy, and with both sides digging in their heels, it's hard to tell how this Hollywood showdown will end. One thing is for sure though, this drama has people picking sides, and it is only getting more intense. In yet another twist though, Blake Lively's past feuds are resurfacing amid the buzz, plus the controversies that plagued her during the film's premiere. People are once again re-examining her behavior at the time, and of course, she's got a ton of hate from fans for being insensitive to the theme of the movie. One of the resurfacing feuds is her alleged pathetic personality, even with cast members of different shows like years ago, like her alleged tension with Gossip Girl co-star Leighton Meester. On screen, Serena and Blair were the ultimate frenemies, and apparently the drama spilled into real life. In 2008, New York Magazine reported that Blake and Leighton avoided each other like the plague on set, with castmates even having to choose sides. By 2011, word on the street was that Blake was upset about Leighton's expensive costume budget, feeling it was unfair given her success in films. Now, the Gossip Girl drama resurfaced, and Armie Hammer weighed in during an appearance on Watch What Happens Live with Andy Cohen. When asked about the biggest diva on set, Hammer, who played Blake Lively's on-screen love interest in season 2, dodged the question but hinted at tension. "Let me just say that it was a tough show to film," he said, adding, "I didn't end up filming all the episodes I was supposed to because it was such a tough film." Fans are definitely reading between the lines. Was Blake the problem, or just another layer of Gossip Girl drama? And don't even get me started on the backlash that followed Blake and Ryan's wedding back in 2012 at Boone Hall Plantation. People were livid over the fact that they picked a venue with a painful history featuring 9 slave cabins known as Slave Street, something that remains a controversial topic to date. Ryan addressed the mistake in Fast Company, admitting they chose Boone Hall based on Pinterest photos and later realized its tragic history. He revealed they held another wedding at home to make amends. While Ryan apologized, Blake stayed silent, leaving many to wonder why she never addressed the controversy herself. Blake Lively faced fresh backlash after a 2016 interview with Norwegian reporter Kjersti Fla resurfaced. During the Cafe Society press tour, Fla congratulated Blake on her pregnancy, one that she had openly discussed, but when Fla congratulated her, she mocked her so badly it came to bite her years later. Such incidents and more have made Blake a not-so-liked star. As if the off-screen drama surrounding Blake Lively wasn't enough, her promotional strategy for It Ends With Us has only added fuel to the fire. Blake Lively's approach to promoting It Ends With Us has sparked a storm of backlash, and honestly, it is not hard to see why. Remember that promotional video where Blake encouraged fans to watch the film by saying, "Grab your girls, wear your florals"? Now, considering the story revolves around DV, that line left a lot of people scratching their heads and saying Blake had completely missed the mark in her marketing, making the film feel more like a rom-com than the emotionally charged story it was supposed to be. And it didn't stop there. Blake leaned into what fans are calling method dressing, wearing floral outfits almost exclusively during the promo tour. But the critiques didn't end with florals and flippant remarks. Fans also noticed Blake using interviews and events to cross-promote her other brands, including her hair care line, Blake Brown, and her beverage company, Betty Buzz. It was so bad, guys. And then there was the contrast with her co-star and director Justin Baldoni back then. While Blake has been under fire for her marketing missteps, Baldoni has been praised for taking a more serious approach in his interviews, focusing on the film's core message about DV. It was during these times that the feud between these two stars started hitting headlines, but no one knew exactly how bad it was. This feud isn't just about Blake versus Baldoni, guys. It is a spotlight on Hollywood's toxic culture and the chilling extent of media manipulation. If Blake's claims are true, they reveal a disturbing tactic. PR teams allegedly ruining reputations, controlling narratives, and silencing opposers. With receipts, leaked texts, and WME cutting ties with Baldoni, this isn't just about one movie. It's a crack in the facade of Hollywood's carefully managed image. Whether or not this heads to court, it is already reshaping how fans view the stars of It Ends With Us. And trust me, this drama is far from over.
We have here exclusively Justin Baldoni speaking to what he called his dream team, those who had been helping him edit the films and get it to finality, lamenting the fact that he was put in the basement on the premiere of his own movie, he says, per Blake's demands. Take a listen to that voice text in part.
Think about this on what, could have been one of the most beautiful nights of my life career-wise. I literally was sent to the basement with all my friends and family for over an hour because I wasn't allowed to be seen. She didn't want me anywhere near her or the rest of the cast. So they ushered me off the carpet and they sent us down to the basement. We were down there together, my friends and family, the people that love me the most, and we start laughing because of the ridiculousness of this whole thing. And I realized, like, on a night that was supposed to be so materialistically joyful, and I believe that will follow each of us, and that truth will prevail, and that light and love will win.
Guys, Justin Baldoni may be silent, but his attorney is done playing nice. Like, enough is enough. And now Blake Lively is getting hit with one hell of a lawsuit that has got the whole internet losing its mind. But as you can guess, Blake isn't just standing there arms folded taking the hit. She is swinging back hard, even though this entire mess is seriously exposing her and not in a good way. Oh, and wait till you hear why Blake filed this case in the first place, and yet she never intended to go to trial. There are so many jaw-dropping twists here, I can't even. So stick around because y'all are not ready for what's coming next. Y'all, there is a lot to unpack here, so grab your popcorn and let's get right into it.
I was in the basement with the people that I love the most, and we were all joyful and laughing because none of that shit matters. None of it. That's not why we're in the business. That's not why the three of us are in this business, is to attend a premiere like that and be celebrated. We're in this business because we're artists and we believe in what we do, and because we want to create art that touches people's hearts and souls and can move people. And that's what we did. That's what you both did. And I believe that will follow each of us, and that truth will prevail, and that light and love will win.
First of all, can we all just agree that we need to sue Blake Lively, and she owes us an apology for the emotional roller coaster that she's putting us through? Like, seriously, how are you gonna sue Justin Baldoni for the emotional blackmail when you're out here causing mass emotional distress yourself? Make it make sense. Anyways, here's where things get juicy. Justin's lawyer finally decided to speak up, and turns out those damning text messages Blake shared to expose Justin were not fabricated, but she only chose the ones that would corroborate her story. Well, we now have the full conversations between Blake and Justin, and once we're done here, you be the judge.
There are evidence for all these points. There are text messages for all these points. And unlike any case that I've handled in my entire career, it's the one case we're going to put every single text message, every single document, everything on a website for everyone in the public to read, come to their own conclusions, and they can determine whether or not there was harassment here, there was a smear campaign, or there was retaliation, because we have proof and receipts that absolutely and unequivocally show this is not true.
Honestly, it would be a shocker if Justin didn't sue Blake, because remember, going by this flow, we're about to witness yet another bombshell from Justin. Remember, recently he dropped a 90-page lawsuit against the New York Times for damages for libel, false light invasion of privacy, promissory fraud, and breach of implied in-fact contract. And loves, he brought all the receipts. Full conversations between Blake and Justin are out now, and like I said, it's not looking good for her. Oh, but it doesn't stop there. Once again, Ryan Reynolds and his PR firm tried to jump in and clean things up for Blake, but the irony is that instead of helping, they ended up exposing Ryan's unnecessary involvement in this whole circus. Like, why is he even there? But before we get too deep, let's rewind a little, because trust me, this saga is like a 10-part Netflix series, and we need to set the scene properly. As most, if not all of you already know, the drama kicked off on New Year's Eve when the news broke that Justin Baldoni was suing the New York Times over their article covering Blake Lively's complaint. But Blake wasn't about to let that slide, and the same day she filed her own lawsuit demanding cold, hard cash. Yep, Blake is suing Justin Baldoni along with Melissa Nathan, Jennifer Abel, and Wayfair Studios, the company behind It Ends With Us. Blake is coming for them over claims of mental pain and anguish, severe emotional distress, and even lost wages. Oh, and in case you were wondering, this isn't some low-key filing, it's a full-blown federal court case in New York. Like, Blake woke up and chose war that day. This was a new development because just days before this, she had filed another case against Justin, but wasn't intending to go to trial, and we now know why. Well, for starters, lawyers have explained that this is called a nuisance lawsuit, which is when someone serves a lawsuit but doesn't intend to take it to court. In a statement to TMZ, attorneys for Blake Lively said, earlier today, Miss Lively filed a federal complaint against Wayfarer Studios and others in the Southern District of New York. Miss Lively previously sent her California Civil Rights Department complaint in response to the retaliatory campaign Wayfair launched against her for reporting harassment and workplace concerns. Unfortunately, Miss Lively's decision to speak out has resulted in further retaliation and attacks. As alleged in Miss Lively's federal complaint, Wayfair and its associates have violated federal and California state law by retaliating against her for reporting harassment and workplace concerns. Now the defendants will answer for their conduct in federal court. Miss Lively has brought this litigation in New York, where much of the relevant activities described in the complaint took place, but we reserve the right to pursue further action in other venues and jurisdictions as appropriate under the law. They added, Lively chose not to file a legal lawsuit against Baldoni, Wayfarer, or any of the plaintiffs, a choice that spared her from the scrutiny of the discovery process, including answering questions under oath and producing her communications. This decision was no accident. First, her administrative complaint is riddled with blatant falsehoods and egregious misrepresentations that would have subjected her to dismissal, if not sanctions. Second, pursuing formal legal action would have derailed her true objective, an orchestrated campaign to rehabilitate her public image. Instead, Lively filed a request for a right to sue letter with the California Civil Rights Department, CRD, a procedural formality that does not require pleadings, remains confidential unless leaked, as it was here, and crucially does not subject the complaint to discovery. While such a letter can precede a lawsuit, it is clear that litigation was never her ultimate goal. Her real intention was to weaponize the appearance of legitimacy conferred by a numbered legal document to launch salacious, headline-grabbing allegations and reshape her public persona at the expense of the plaintiffs. Lively found willing allies at the New York Times, which uncritically embraced her CRD complaint as fact and disregarded the plaintiffs' emphatic objections, even rushing to publish its inflammatory article without waiting for the response deadline of noon Eastern Time on December 21st, 2024. The Times published the article at 10:11 a.m., nearly 2 hours early, in a brazen disregard for journalistic integrity and fairness. This resulted in an article rife with inaccuracies, misrepresentations, and omissions. All this to say, Baldoni's defense team argues that Blake never intended to turn this into a lawsuit. She simply wanted a way to tell her side of the story without the legal implications. However, they have evidence showing that she manipulated the facts to her advantage, including editing messages between her and Baldoni. Alright, moving on. Justin's team showed some of these so-called altered messages as proof that they weren't trying to bury Blake's reputation. They literally showed group chats for context. Like, this is one where Justin, out of concern, wrote, "How can we say somehow that we are not doing any of this? It looks like we are trying to take her down," to which Miss Nathan responds saying it doesn't. They are doing all of this themselves and it's really obvious. They also shared another screenshot of Justin saying, "The thing I'm more worried about is that we are planting these stories," which is not true, obviously. Remember guys, if you've gone through Blake's initial complaint, she had tons of screenshots, the ones New York Times published stating that on August 16th, Miss Nathan shared the Daily Mail article headlined as, "Is Blake Lively set to be canceled?" with reference to hard-to-watch videos and a tone-deaf promotional Q&A. "Wow, you really outdid yourself with this piece," Miss Abel responded. "That's why you hired me, right?" Miss Nathan replied, "I'm the best." This was the exact screenshot on Blake's lawsuit that she used to prove they were plotting against her. But now everyone can see that they were addressing a whole other situation, which only means Blake took it out of context, and the New York Times didn't do their due diligence before publishing. Justin's team waited on the mix-up on this by saying, "The article is predicated on Lively's CRD complaint, which references text exchanges between Nathan and Abel as supposed evidence that Nathan planted a negative story in the Daily Mail titled, 'Is Blake Lively set to be canceled?' Lively's portrayal is categorically false, misleading, and without factual basis, yet knowingly endorsed by the Times, which claimed to have reviewed thousands of pages of text messages and emails. The smear campaign allegation hinges on an August 16th text exchange in which Nathan allegedly shared a link to the article with Abel. The exchange shows Abel responding, 'Wow,' followed by, 'You really outdid yourself with this one,' to which Nathan allegedly replied, 'That's why you hired me, right? I'm the best.' These messages constitute the entirety of the supposed evidence underlying the allegation of a smear campaign orchestrated created on behalf of Baldoni. Guys, this drama is so wild. We could spend all day dissecting every little detail. But let's skip to the real fireworks now that Justin Baldoni's lawyer, Brian Friedman, has practically handed us the deets on a silver platter.
Unlike any case that I've handled in my entire career, it's the one case we're going to put every single text message, every single document, everything on a website for everyone in the public to read, come to their own conclusions.
So Brian recently sat down with media personality Megyn Kelly to break it all down for us because, let's be honest, these lawsuits and counter lawsuits have been all over the place. We can barely keep up. And y'all, when I say this interview was jaw-dropping, I'm not even exaggerating. Brian didn't just come prepared, he came with receipts, including audio messages from Justin himself on multiple occasions. But the part that left everyone gasping for air was when Justin claimed that on the day It Ends With Us premiered, he, his friends, and his family were locked in a basement for over an hour because Blake said she didn't want to see him anywhere near her movie.
On what, could have been one of the most beautiful nights of my life career-wise, I literally was sent to the basement with all my friends and family for over an hour because I wasn't allowed to be seen. She didn't want me anywhere near her or the rest of the cast. So they ushered me off the carpet and they sent us down to the basement. We were down there together, my friends and family, the people that love me the most, and we start laughing because of the ridiculousness of this whole thing.
It has all come full circle, y'all. Remember when the It Ends With Us film launch was happening and the rumors were flying left and right that the cast and crew practically staged a rebellion against Justin Baldoni? People were unfollowing him like a canceled influencer and bad blood was written all over the place. Baldoni was out there doing interviews and promo solo while the rest of the team rolled up like a united front. It was super awkward. Well, now we know it was even worse than we thought. Things were so toxic that people literally had to be locked in basements. But here's yet another twist. Some people actually think Blake's actions are kind of justified, especially after Blake sued Baldoni for SA and a smear campaign, so maybe this was her way of fighting back. But Brian Friedman is having none of it, so here's what he has to say.
They say so good. Who could blame her for wanting him in the basement? What say you?
Let's break down what the sexual harassment is. I mean, we've just, been through the Me Too movement. We've heard all sorts of serious allegations of sexual harassment that are really meaningful to victims and really important and whatnot. Blake Lively, if she was sexually harassed to such a degree in this film and in this situation, she wouldn't have returned to the film. And they had sat down and they had talked about what her complaints were. The unfortunate thing is she actually didn't read the book and didn't understand what the book was about.
Blake not reading the book has been the talk for the longest time. Like, remember that cringe moment when she straight up admitted she didn't even know who Colleen Hoover was, and people were wondering how she could star in a movie without knowing the author behind it? For those of you who have actually read It Ends With Us, you already know it's packed with some super dark scenes that even the movie struggled to handle. But the whole vibe on set was apparently a mess because Blake hadn't even read the novel, which caused a lot of creative differences.
And if you get down to the specific allegations, I mean, what this film was about domestic violence. This film was about scenes that involve, rough behavior and domestic violence and serious issues like that. And at every turn, to the extent that Justin, anybody felt uncomfortable in any way on the film, Justin took responsibility for it.
Friedman also confirmed that infamous meeting where Blake demanded a meeting to have some changes made to make her feel comfortable on set.
They met at Ryan Reynolds' house in New York. They went over a 17-point list of things. They had come to an agreement, although Justin and Jamie did not agree that these things, that were, spoken about were warranted at all. They said, well, of course we won't come into your trailer when, if you don't want us to. Of course we won't do these things. And they're really simple concepts and simple things. And even in their own complaint, they admit that ever since they met in January, that everything ran smoothly for the rest of the set.
Not only that, loves, turns out that Blake never read the book to understand certain contexts wasn't the only challenge. She had also accused Baldoni of body shaming, claiming that he had asked her about her weight, to which Baldoni defended himself, saying he needed this information because of his strained back, so he had to train accordingly, something which the crew confirmed because his trainer was even on set. Body shaming aside, Blake then jumped to inappropriate behavior where she claimed he barged into her trailer while she was pumping breast milk and made comments about her appearance. Sounds intense, right? Well, on the flip side, Justin's receipts paint a very different picture. One of the texts he included shows Blake inviting him to her trailer to rehearse lines while she was pumping. The contradictions are wild. Anyways, let's get back to Friedman.
And as a result of that, you know, the complaints are things like he had gone into her trailer when she was breastfeeding, to which there are text messages that address that. There were complaints that Jamie Heath, Justin's partner, had shown pornography. If you look at the actual complaint that they filed, it says that that's pornography. What Jamie Heath showed her was a still video of a home birth because they were discussing a scene about birthing. And you know, that's not pornography.
During this interview, Megyn Kelly also asked Friedman about the wild accusations Blake made in her complaint, where she claimed there was a whole two-part plan in motion. First, to hide Justin Baldoni's alleged harassment and other misconduct, along with that of his partner Heath and their company Wayfarer Studios. And second, Megyn needed Friedman's input on the accusation that Justin intended to drag Blake through the mud with a full-blown smear campaign, which damaged her image, wrecked her business, and emotionally destroyed her family. But Megyn, being Megyn, separated the accusations for clarity. She pointed out that concealing alleged misconduct might not even be illegal. Like, sure, nobody wants bad PR for a film when it's about to hit theaters, but the real legal drama was the retaliation part. Blake saying that because she raised those serious harassment complaints, they came for her with everything they had. Friedman had an interesting answer for this one.
There was actually no allegation of sexual harassment until the lawsuit was filed. I mean, that's when the allegations of sexual harassment came up.
So basically, Blake never mentioned all these throughout the project during its launch until months after, when her business was struggling and she was facing the aftermath of bad press, that she decided to bring everything up. That's according to Baldoni's legal team.
PR brought in. Crisis PR was brought in because there were negative stories about Justin that were being leaked to the media, not about sexual harassment. There were negative stories about Justin being brought in saying no one likes him. He's been a problem on set. You know, stories like that. And Crisis PR was brought in to say, this won't be good for the film. Crisis PR was also brought in because there were negative stories about Blake Lively, not that Justin created, but that existed out there. I mean, you know, fans and media can be brutal. They go back through your history. They go back and look and say, what interviews have you given before? How have you treated people? How, you know, are you promoting the film in a way where you're promoting your hair care products?
Oh, Blake will never hear the end of this one. Like, who in their right mind thought it was a good idea to drop a hairline product right when she was supposed to be hyping It Ends With Us? Whoever gave her that advice clearly hates her. And don't even get me started on her telling women to wear those florals and hit the theaters like this was some cheesy rom-com. Everything else aside, Blake's rep took a major beating after this project wrapped, and now Baldoni's team are coming in hard saying she's just making stuff up because she's down bad.
In fact, what he wants is a successful movie. He wants to protect the movie, and all through the text messages you'll see over and over and over again him saying, I don't want to hurt her. I want to protect her. Let's give her what she wants. Let's help her. That's what he's doing.
Woo! But it gets worse. It literally gets worse. Because according to Team Justin, Blake's accusations weren't just about speaking her truth. They are claiming this was all a part of a calculated power move to take over the film that Blake was trying to turn into a movie she didn't even direct into her personal project, which is exactly what Justin is saying happened. He claims Blake gained control over everything, the soundtrack, the wardrobe, the editing, everything. And the craziest part is that she allegedly forced the studio to release her cut of the film, even though Justin's version tested better with the audience. And just when Blake thought that things had swayed to her favor, this video starts going viral.
I just want to be clear that you should not be the intimacy coordinator. You should definitely hire intimacy coordinators, which we did have. Well, thank goodness.
You were teaching Justin how to pull you in.
Where have you seen
this?
I actually just saw it too. It was on Instagram yesterday, I think.
Yeah, I mean, I think that, like, you know, romance is really important. You're supposed to, you know, tell a story well.
So the clip you've just watched is Blake Lively legit looking fidgety as the interviewer casually mentions that she was trying to teach Justin Baldoni how to be more touchy with her on set, even though they literally had intimacy coordinators for that exact reason. This looks really bad on Blake, especially now that tables have turned after Justin countersued her. And not to mention the rumors swirling about her ill motives and repressed feelings for Justin off camera, or worse, coming for his entire career because he didn't vibe with her advances. I told y'all it's messy and super sus. To add to all of this mess, there is no way we can dissect Blake's lawsuit without mentioning Reynolds, whom at first people thought was just caught in the crossfire, but upon realizing how he intertwined himself into this film, he's receiving little mercy from fans. People are saying he brought all this on himself by getting too involved in his wife's job to the point that he clearly was overstepping. Remember when Blake jokingly said Ryan edited a scene and neither the screenwriter nor Justin the director had a clue? Plus, he joined Blake in promoting a DV movie as a rom-com, and people were so pissed that the two just couldn't read the room. Anyways, loves, the internet is shuddering over this one, with a lot of people saying nobody causes more harm to Blake Lively's reputation than Blake Lively. She treats co-stars, interviewers, and even Princess Kate like dirt. And on the other hand, the anti-Baldoni battalion, who just can't get past those leaked messages from his PR. Well, Blake swears she'll never stop speaking her truth, and Justin isn't backing down either. In fact, he's making it clear that not even being iced out of a film he co-starred in and directed could break his vibe. According to him, that's not why he's in the game. Justin says he does what he does for the love of it, and because his true purpose is to make an impact on the world by touching people through storytelling.
We're in this business because we're artists and we believe in what we do, and because we want to create art that touches people's hearts and souls and can move people.
Alright, loves, that is all the updates we've got for now, but let's keep the convo going. Are you Team Blake, Team Justin, or Team Truth? Drop your thoughts in the comments because I need to know what y'all are thinking about this messy saga.
It Ends With Us is in theaters now, so grab your friends, wear your florals, and head out to see it.
The chemistry with Justin also was off the charts. I mean, really, truly.
Blake Lively's perfect image is completely shattered. And y'all, the backlash is getting so much worse by the minute. In just 72 hours, her PR team made 3 disastrous moves that turned what could have been a small hiccup into a full-blown career meltdown. It was so bad that fans are legit calling it the biggest flop in celeb crisis management ever. And as a result, she has gotten caught doing something that made it impossible for anyone to defend her. It's wild, but we're just getting started. And as if that wasn't messy enough, her husband, Reynolds, somehow made things worse by dragging Justin Baldoni into this train wreck with what fans are calling a low-key shady move on the It Ends With Us set. The once admired power couple is now the punchline of every meme, and the receipts are not looking good. This whole situation is spiraling so fast, it's hard to keep up, but trust me, the drama is unmatched. Y'all, there is a lot to unpack here, so grab your popcorn and let's get right into it.
Well, actress Blake Lively is at the center of a new controversy surrounding her new movie, It Ends With Us.
Right off the bat, let's get into the mistake number 1, which honestly might go down as one of the worst PR blunders we've seen this year. Blaming Justin Baldoni for her interview Backlash. This was so dumb because the only way this would have made sense is if the internet didn't exist to unleash receipts of her personal failures and meanness outside of Justin Baldoni's involvement. Let me explain. Even if you've been living in a Wi-Fi free cave, you probably heard about how this blew up. You know, Blake and Justin doing press rounds for their movie It Ends With Us, a project that has swelled in controversy so loud, even ghosts in the afterlife are in shock. It was during those tours that the storm really started to hit Blake. During these interviews, Blake's whole demeanor became the star of the show, and not in a good way. Her dismissive comments, a lack of empathy for DV victims, turning it into her business launch, the list is endless.
Understands the themes of this movie, comes across you in public, and they want to really talk to you. What's the best way for them to be able to talk to you about this? How would you recommend they go about it?
Asking for like my address or my phone number or like my location share. Or I could just location share you, and then we could I'm just curious about
social security number.
I'm a Virgo, so I'm like, are we talking logistics?
Now, here is where things took a drastic nosedive. Instead of addressing these concerns head on, Blake's team decided to play the blame game, pinning the awkwardness on Justin. Remember, at the time, Justin was literally trying to salvage the movie from a disgraceful flop, and yet Blake acted like she would rather be anywhere else. And in case she missed it, that was the time that Blake got canceled. Here's the thing. We live in an age where everything is recorded, analyzed, and turned into TikTok breakdowns. Fans started dissecting those interviews frame by frame, pulling out receipts of Blake's reactions compared to Justin's, and we all know how that went. The evidence did not work in her favor. Every side eye, every clipped response, it was all there for the world to see.
This is your night, mister. No, this isn't my night. This is a night for all the women who we made this movie for. This is a night for Blake. This is a night for Colleen. I'm just so grateful that we're here.
Now, let's talk strategy or lack thereof. Blake's team had options. They could have acknowledged how her behavior came across, something as simple as, hey, Blake was having an off day, she's human too. Or literally the lame, half-baked apologies celebrities give, and boom! Situation diffused. Problem solved. But instead, a team of professionals decided that the best course of action would be the blame game. So they doubled down, blaming Justin, which only made fans dig deeper. And the deeper they dug, the worse it looked for Blake. You know when trying to cover something up only makes it blow up bigger? Yeah, that. By shifting blame, Blake's team accidentally turned what could have been a small, forgettable blip into a full-blown internet investigation. And let's not forget, Justin didn't even have to lift a finger to defend himself, at least not at the time. The videos were right there, crystal clear, proving Blake's actions were all her own. Her main character energy was stinking to the high heavens. And just like that, guys, this error would turn out to be way too costly for Blake's image, as it opened the door for two more massive mistakes that we're about to get into.
You see it, it feels like a big, beautiful summer movie, but like we didn't have any budget.
Now let's talk about mistake number 2, which honestly might have been worse than the first one, if that's even possible. Blake's team decided to pull the oldest, most overplayed, and completely transparent PR stunt in the book, rubbishing the Backlash on a planted story. Here's the play-by-play. The interviews went viral. People started talking, actually dragging Blake for her behavior. Instead of stepping up and addressing the criticism, her team decided to throw out the planted story defense, like that was supposed to magically make everyone stop talking. Well, it didn't. In fact, it completely backfired. Let's break this down because there are layers to how bad this was. First, accusing the media, fans, and social media detectives of being manipulated, just the same way she accused Justin of a smear campaign. That is a bold move, considering these are the same people who can find out what you ate for lunch 3 years ago with just a quick search. Basically, Blake's team wasn't just gaslighting people, they were lighting up a bonfire. Second, let's talk about credibility. When you tell people that their outrage over something they literally watched with their own eyes isn't valid because it's part of some conspiracy, you're not just losing the argument, you're losing all trust. It's like holding a cup and convincing others it's a plate when they are looking right at it. No, seriously, think about it. Even if this was a planted story, it wasn't, but let's just pretend. The behavior Blake got called out for, you know, her dismissive tone, the awkward responses, and the general negative energy and every devil-inspired thing she did at the time, that didn't come from some PR wizard's imagination. That was all Blake. And without knowing it, instead of letting the interviews fade into the background, this stunt gave people a whole new reason, not only to dig deeper, but also to hate her more. So now we had Blake's original interviews and the new ones of Blake's attempt to deflect. It made her look even worse. We've seen this play out before too. This one might ring a bell. Remember Amber Heard trying to claim her infamous statements were taken out of context during the Johnny Depp trial? Yeah, drama, same energy, same devastating result. The moment you underestimate your audience's intelligence, you've lost. So what should Blake's team have done? Funny enough, the solution to this is literally the same as that of her first mistake. Simply take accountability. Something like, Blake didn't mean to appear dismissive, she's deeply invested in this project and can't wait for fans to see it. Then shift the focus back to the movie. Done! A PR crisis spinned into something manageable. But no, Blake's team decided to double down on denial instead of owning up, and it's only about to get worse because mistake number 3 is where the whole thing spirals out of control, like literally the grand finale of this disaster. Loves, just when you thought that Blake's team had hit rock bottom, they busted out the shovels and started digging, which is how we got to mistake number 3, letting the lawyers take over.
Blake Lively is speaking up after Justin Baldoni filed a second lawsuit, this time a bombshell lawsuit against herself and husband Ryan Reynolds.
You see, the second you lawyer up in a PR crisis, you're not showing strength, you're waving a giant neon sign that says, "We're panicking!" Sure, they probably thought that this move would shift the focus back to Blake's painfully awkward interviews and cancellation, or maybe even the movie itself. Instead, they turned a heartfelt story about DV, healing, and empowerment into a legal circus. Now, instead of fans discussing the movie's powerful themes, we're stuck wading through a swamp of cease and desist letters, legal threats, text messages, leaks, and gossip. Because what better way to promote a film about healing than by airing out every messy detail of a behind-the-scenes feud? Make it make sense, Blake. Here's why this was a disastrous flop. First, in an attempt to silence the drama, they made it 10 times louder. It's like pouring gasoline on a fire and acting shocked when it explodes. Social media was already in a frenzy, but the second the legal teams got involved, which, if y'all can remember, was just a month ago when Blake out of nowhere sued Justin for SA and a smear campaign, the internet turned into a full-blown investigative unit. Blake even assumed that if she shared some screenshots as proof, all of her wrongs would be made right. But boy, hasn't she become headline news for all the wrong reasons. By dragging this into legal territory, Blake's team basically handed the public a front row seat to her PR downfall. Let's not forget, when this story first broke, plenty of people came forward with shocking stories about Blake Lively's mean streak and their nightmare experiences working with her. But now, thanks to her decision to revive this mess, even more people are speaking out. Former colleagues, assistants, you name it, allegedly she tore them down, made their lives miserable, and spun the narrative to play the victim. Guys, the real tragedy here is what has become of It Ends With Us, a movie that was supposed to be a story that empowers and inspires people. Instead, thanks to Blake and her legal theatrics, it's been reduced to a tabloid fodder. The soul of the project is literally dead. On the brighter side though, the outcome isn't entirely useless. At least through Blake, we now know what to do if you want to tank your reputation. 1. Blame everyone but yourself. 2. Claim a planted story. 3. Bring in the lawyers. People are drawing all kinds of conclusions from this mess, but honestly, I think Blake is either surrounded by yes men too scared to challenge her, or by people who secretly hate her and feed her the worst advice just to laugh when it all blows up in her face. That's also not all, guys. We're moving on to Ryan Reynolds, who, believe it or not, has just helped Justin Baldoni's case against his wife Blake. And you guys, this was the plot twist we never saw coming. I need y'all to buckle up because this mess is about to hit new levels of chaos. So, just when we thought that Blake had secured her spot as the drama queen of the decade, her own husband might have just handed Justin Baldoni's team the bombshell that they needed to take Blake down. Ryan's actions have tipped the scales against Blake, and the internet is losing it. Whew. Apparently, Justin Baldoni's legal team, they are dragging Ryan Reynolds into this mess too. Why, you ask? Well, Ryan's latest Deadpool project, where he's not only acting but also writing and producing, might have just thrown Blake under the bus. Let's break it all down because this is juicy. It's scandalous, and loves, it's about to get wild. Justin's team recently sent a letter to Disney execs highlighting some very interesting parallels between Ryan's character, Nice Pool, and Justin himself. From the man bun, which Justin famously rocked for years before donating it to charity, to specific jokes about feminism and podcasts, the whole thing reeks of not so subtle shade. Not to mention that a lot of the material Ryan wrote and performed in this movie is oddly similar to the claims Blake made against Justin. Coincidence? Fans don't think so. Now remember, Blake has been screaming harassment and body shaming on the set of It Ends With Us. She even dragged Ryan into it, having him host meetings to mediate between her, Justin, and the production team. And yet, while all of this drama was unfolding, Ryan was out here writing scenes where Nice Pool jokes about an intimacy coordinator coordinator being missing, something Blake herself used to stir controversy. On top of that, there's that nice pool comment about Lady Pool, played by Blake's character, just having a baby, which mimics Blake's real-life claims about being body-shamed postpartum. It gets worse. Nice Pool, in classic Deadpool fashion, takes another dig, saying this. In case you didn't know, Justin co-hosts a podcast on masculinity called The Man Enough Podcast. Clearly, all of these are just way too convenient to be a coincidence. And here's where it goes from messy to downright embarrassing for Blake. If her claims were as sensitive and as serious as she made them out to be, why is Ryan out here turning them into jokes for a blockbuster movie? Fans are calling it tone deaf at best and deliberate sabotage at worst. It's almost like Ryan saw Blake's case crumbling and thought, you know what this needs? Some Deadpool humor to finish it off. And here we are, loves, the absolute peak of audacity. Blake and Ryan didn't just hijack a movie, they hijacked the narrative. Like, can we just acknowledge how Justin Baldoni, who literally birthed It Ends With Us from ground up, was shoved to the side like an extra? Blake practically turned the set into her personal playground, rewriting scripts, directing scenes, and deciding who got to breathe on her set. Guys, this was someone who at first was only hired as an actress, had never read the book, and never heard of the author. But when Justin gave her an inch, she went a whole 10 miles in. As if dominating someone else's project wasn't enough, let's not forget Ryan's MVP move of attempting to buy Justin out of his own film. He offered a multi-million-dollar deal to buy out Justin Baldoni from the movie, saying, "This is the biggest film Blake has ever made. Ryan wants to make sure she isn't replaced in the sequel." They must have been super disappointed when Justin Baldoni turned down the offer. Ugh. So much for a power couple. But wait, it gets worse. Not only did Ryan and Blake dominate the production, but their so-called PR strategy was a glorified roast of Justin. Ryan pulled in his Deadpool buddies to clown around during It Ends With Us promotions, leaving Justin looking like the kid who wasn't invited to the cool table. Around that time, Blake also demanded that Justin be erased from the press tours entirely. Imagine pouring your blood, sweat, and tears into a movie only to be treated like a ghost. Ugh, the audacity. And let's talk about that premiere debacle. Blake had Justin and his people locked in a basement. A basement. Like, y'all, at this point, it is so hard to tell if this was a film launch or an episode of Mean Girls Hollywood Edition.
Think about this. On what, could have been one of the most beautiful nights of my life career-wise, I literally was sent to the basement with all my friends and family for over an hour because I wasn't allowed to be seen. She didn't want me anywhere near her or the rest of the cast. So they ushered me off the carpet and they sent us down to the basement.
The disrespect was unreal, and it is all coming out now. Between the cast unfollowing Justin on Instagram and the eerie silence around his involvement, it's clear that this wasn't just professional tension, it was a full-on campaign to humiliate him. And Ryan, in that Nice Pool character, he couldn't resist one final dig, mocking Justin in Deadpool 3, because yeah, when your wife is building a lawsuit, the best move is clearly to publicly roast the guy you're accusing. Smart strategy, right? If you squint, you can almost see the legal case crumbling under the weight of their own pettiness. So here we are. Blake and Ryan might have been chasing box office history, but all they've done is write a masterclass in bad PR. The fans see it, Justin's lawyer sees it, and now everyone sees it. If Blake thought that she could stroll into court without a scratch, she might want to think again, because this circus that they've created is about to implode. Honestly, this whole situation feels like a train wreck you just can't look away from. If Justin's team plays their cards right, Ryan's little jabs could turn into hard evidence that Blake's allegations aren't as solid as she wants people to believe. If this was supposed to be a power couple move, it's giving clownery. Thanks so much for watching, y'all. What do you think about this whole mess? Like, is this not the most chaotic drama we've seen in a minute? If you want to dive even deeper into the madness,
the one case, we're going to put every single text message, every single document, everything on a website for everyone in the public to read, come to their own conclusions, and they can determine whether or not there was sexual harassment here, there was a smear campaign, or there was retaliation, because we have proof and receipts that absolutely and unequivocally show this is not true.
Justin Baldoni just dropped even more footage, and now Blake looks like a horrible liar. He's doubling down, ready with receipts, and honestly, Blake is completely done. This all started when Justin started sharing proof, like that hard-to-watch behind-the-scenes basement footage from It Ends With Us premiere. And now Blake's response is only making things worse. From PR blunders to legal drama, it's clear she is in deep.
You can butt in if you
The other day, I dropped a video about the PR mistakes Blake has been making since the onset of this circus. Such a shame that she didn't watch it because clearly her PR team and now legal team are doing her dirty. Instead of taking a step back and reevaluating, Blake and her team are out here literally making things worse. Y'all, the delusion is real, and Blake Lively must be the most unlively person right now. Grab a lot of popcorn, y'all. It's time to shame liars. For context, Blake has this habit of playing the victim whenever things don't go her way, and honestly, people are kind of over it. This whole mess with Justin must have been her clout chasing and seeking for sympathy, but she might have been off more than she could chew this time. Justin is not just sitting back and taking it, no, he came with receipts, and it is looking bad for Blake. Just as Justin Baldoni's attorney Brian Friedman had promised, they are legit releasing evidence discrediting every single claim of abuse Blake made against Justin. Also, is it just me, or are they so strategic with the receipts, guys? It's been from less serious screenshots, gradually progressing to even more damning videos, and I for one am convinced that the next bombshell is going to sweep Blake off the floor. Like, literally. First, they dropped that heartbreaking voice note of Justin saying that they were locked in the basement during the premiere. Then, boom, an actual photo in the basement. And now, a whole video shutting down her claims about him being inappropriate on set. Let's start with the exact moment that Blake claims was harassment. First of all, it's important to remember that when Blake included this footage in her lawsuit, she indicated that it was on mute because it was recorded for a scene where music would be playing in the background. So all we had was her word for it. Little did Blake know that Baldoni had the original unedited footage. Now that the video is out, we can clearly hear the conversation that was happening. Not just between the two of them, but literally everything that was happening in that room. So far, it's just two characters on set. If anything, if Justin was out of character, then so was Blake, because both of them are having conversations that were nowhere in the script. For the most part, they were talking about literally anything that could be used to enhance the scene, probably because Baldoni was also directing.
And they score! They score! There are stories about you.
But let's narrow down to the exact moment Blake included as her lawsuit as when Justin leans over and says, "I'm getting beard on you today," to which Blake then giggles and responds, "I'm probably getting spray tan on you." Then Justin said, "It smells so good." Blake then responds, "It's not that, it's my body makeup. You know what? Just watch this."
I'm getting beard on you today.
I'm probably getting breakfast too.
It smells good.
Well, it's not that, it's my body makeup.
Guys, that is Blake's big harassment moment. They are playfully acting to make it look like two people who are deep into each other, you know, the honeymoon phase of a relationship, and they are being flirtatious for the camera. But you can clearly hear Justin talking about his wife and Blake joining in. All fun. This is how Blake has played this whole thing out from the start. When she said Justin went into her trailer when she was breastfeeding, Justin produced text messages of Blake saying, "I'm breastfeeding, come over." Then the part where she accused the producer of showing her and when they responded, it turned out to be an artistic portrait of his business partner and his bathtub with their newborn. And also noted that he showed her this because they were talking about home births, and now Blake wants people to believe that what we have just watched is not only that, remember the moment Justin started providing proof? Blake wrote to the Human Rights Office in the Southern District of New York, where she filed her lawsuit against him, saying that these were leaks to the media to retaliate against her, specifically asking the court to shut Baldoni and his team up. According to Blake, Justin was trying this case in the media and she wasn't happy about it, literally forgetting that she is the one who collaborated with New York Times to put Baldoni on blast with what we can maybe refer to as half-truths, if we're being nice. Otherwise, so many lies have been peddled at the expense of Baldoni's reputation. Now, think about this. Blake now wants a gag order against Baldoni after she had smeared him dirty in an effort to revive her self-inflicted bad reputation following her tasteless behavior at the premiere of It Ends With Us. If she is standing in the truth, then why shouldn't she be afraid of anything? Blake said that Justin wasn't giving full context, but now he is. So what's her worry? Blake has also claimed that when she objected to Justin's inappropriateness, she says Mr. Baldoni's response was, "I'm not even attracted to you."
I was immediately taken back to when she flipped the narrative on me and acted as if I did all these offensive things, when I want to reiterate I didn't speak to this girl. I did not speak to her. So this girl has a pattern of flipping the narrative, playing the victim, and then leveraging her status to actually bully and mistreat other people. So I've never heard of Justin Baldoni. I'm someone who, again, worked with Hollywood directors, never heard of this guy. This might have been his big break. And what I saw is her harassing him. Because again, usually it's the director that's the bigger dog on set. So yeah, they can harass their talent if they're like the much bigger name. But when you're the bigger name, you can have them kicked off set.
All right, moving on to other parts of the footage that Blake complained over.
Can you guys frame up on Sebastian on you? Yeah. We'll just do like our lips are right next to each other.
Yeah, got you. But I think you should start talking.
Okay.
Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, ready? Still rolling.
Don't give it to them. They want it. Don't give it to them.
They score.
Just
right.
keep restraint.
Yeah.
Score.
Just do a little bit of restraint.
Ryan, come on back.
Like, the clip clearly shows Justin fully locked into his role both as an actor and a director, even calling for a break because they had enough takes. Blake might want to rethink her next move because this is not looking good for her.
All right, cut. We got plenty.
Yes.
Slow motion. It's going to be a 17-minute reel.
Not only that, people are pointing out how, quote, the contrary claim that Blake was visibly uncomfortable, she looks super comfortable. At some point, she even jokes about Baldoni's big nose, and they have a good laugh about it shortly before Baldoni stops the scene, saying the shots were more than enough for the slow motion effect that they were going for.
And my nose is so big.
Yes. I was hoping that we could address this. It's not too late. Just gotta shut down. We gotta call an insurance month and just deal with that.
Yeah.
And then
Cut.
Just kidding. Oh, and by the way, the light moment that they had talking about Justin's nose being big also had people tearing down Blake because if you can remember, one of Blake's claims in Blake's lawsuit is that Justin body shamed her when he inquired from the trainer on set about Blake's weight in preparation for a scene where he was supposed to lift her. Bear in mind that Justin asked this specifically to ensure that he could safely perform the lift without injury considering his back problems. People have brought this up because apparently the way Blake's mind works, Justin can't ask about her weight for his hip problems, but she can tell him to take a month off to do something about his nose. Justin laughed it off, but Blake considered hers as body shaming. Interesting. This drama is so crazy. We are out here discussing someone's nose. Speaking of noses, Blake Lively has never publicly confirmed or denied getting a nose job, but many speculate that she has undergone rhinoplasty surgery based on noticeable changes to her nose shape over the years, particularly a narrower bridge and more defined tip. The plot thickens, y'all, because Blake has responded to this footage in what many people call the most tone-deaf response she has ever pulled. So following this video evidence, Blake's legal team claimed that the video basically proves everything they've been saying about Justin from the jump. So now we have both Blake Lively and Justin Baldoni saying the leaked footage proves their point. Blake's attorney issued a statement saying every time they release footage, it corroborates the actress's claims, adding that the videos are manufactured media stunts. In case you're wondering what Blake found offensive in this scene, well, here's what her attorney had to say. Justin Baldoni and his lawyer may hope that this lawsuit stunt will get ahead of the damaging evidence against him, but the video itself is damning. Every frame of the released footage corroborates to the letter what Miss Lively described in paragraph 48 of her complaint. The video shows Mr. Baldoni repeatedly leaning in towards Miss Lively, attempting to kiss her, kissing her forehead, rubbing his face and mouth against her neck, flicking her lip with his thumb, caressing her, telling her how good she smells, and talking with her out of character. Every moment of this was improvised by Mr. Baldoni with with no discussion or consent in advance and no intimacy coordinator present. Basically, Blake's side is trying to spin Justin's footage like it's some kind of confirmation that they have been right all along. And people are just out here like, girl, are we watching the same video? Because the internet is not buying it. It has gotten so heated that experts are now analyzing the scene, and most outcomes are in Justin's favor. They are saying that a good actor knows not every nuance is included in the script, especially for such a scene with a forehead kiss, rubbing his face on her neck, and basically Justin getting cozy makes the scene as natural as it should. It can be said the same of Blake because she clearly has her hands all over Justin's neck at some point. The swinging around or the part where she tells Justin they should be talking aren't in the script, but that natural flow was necessary. Basically, it's like someone telling you to get in and then later asks you why you used the door. Anyways, let's be real for a sec. People can't seem to find a single instance where Justin did any of the stuff he's accused of intentionally, because what we saw was them laughing, vibing, and making jokes about Baldoni's nose. This visibly uncomfortable Blake they keep talking about is not in the room with us. Of course, social media is eating this up to the point that people are now even predicting that Baldoni will get a 9-figure settlement, while Blake Lively will end up with a divorce coming her way. The streets are cold, but they might not be wrong. Fans are either clowning Blake for taking this so seriously or calling out the whole situation for what it really is. One big Hollywood mess. Justin, on the other hand, is standing 10 toes down. His legal team dropped the footage to counter Blake's claim and have promised to release even more. And in a shocking turn of events, a lot of these subtle actions Blake is using to drag were literally in the script and in the book that apparently Blake never even read in the first place. At this point, it's clear that this drama is way bigger than the red carpet situation that went down during the movie's premiere. We've got lawsuits flying left and right, and now Blake's out here trying to convince us that a whole movie scene moment was something way more sinister. But guess what? The internet stays undefeated and people are not falling for it. Not only that, as if things couldn't get any worse for Blake, she just can't catch a break. Turns out it's not just Baldoni's footage she has to worry about. Blake has been getting backlash over an old footage with Anna Kendrick, which has got everyone talking. She's out here making headlines again, and if you thought her drama with Justin Baldoni was messy, it turns out there's more behind the scenes as her past has come to haunt her. From feuds with Anna Kendrick, tension with Leighton Meester, to claims of mistreatments from interns and other media personalities, it looks like Blake's got a whole lineup of frenemies.
I met Blake a few times through Ryan on that film, and and thought she seemed nice, and little did I know.
Yeah.
Don't touch me.
First up, let's talk about Anna Kendrick. You'd think that starring together in A Simple Favor, they'd be besties, right? Well, not so much. Word on the street is that Anna and Blake have had beef from the jump, and believe it or not, it might go back to some shade that Anna threw at Blake's BFF, Taylor Swift, years ago. Back in 2016, Anna did an interview where she joked about how she could never be like Taylor, calling her the perfect Miss America type, while Anna herself preferred to be more cynical, sarcastic vibe. It was a harmless comment, but Blake did not find it cute.
I can't be a Disney princess ever.
Oh, Muffin, it's so hard being you.
Fast forward to filming and things got awkward. Press tours, promo shoots, behind the scene moments, all of it felt tense.
I've muted some people. There's a couple people that I have muted.
Good.
Yeah.
I think I'm just brunette because the book's
not everyone knows blondes are nicer anyway.
Insiders claim Anna allegedly found Blake impossible to work with, while Blake accused Anna of stealing the spotlight. Yikes. And listen, they never addressed the drama directly, but their co-star Henry Golding tried to shut down the rumors, saying everything was chill. But let's be real, we all saw those press interviews and they were serving major passive-aggressive energy. Now here's where things get even wilder. Despite all the drama, the studio decided to go ahead with A Simple Favor 2, and fans were shook because these two hadn't even been in the same room for years. According to sources, Anna was hesitant about returning, but the director, Paul Feig, was determined to make it work. Spoiler alert, it didn't. Old tensions flared up again, and production reportedly became so toxic that they had to keep Blake and Anna apart just to avoid any blow-ups. Like, imagine that tension on set. Whew. And now, the sequel might never even see the light of day. Apparently, Blake is refusing to promote the film, and with her ongoing legal issues with Justin Baldoni, it's just adding fuel to the fire. Amazon, who spent major coin to buy this movie, is not happy. They're reportedly shelving it indefinitely, despite early test screenings getting enthusiastic reviews. Fans were hyped to see Blake and Anna back in action, but it looks like their off-screen drama may have tanked the whole thing. Anyways, here's the gag. This isn't only the fallout that Blake's dealing with. Rumors are flying that she was iced out of the Golden Globes earlier this year, with insiders saying she straight up wasn't welcome. Now with Amazon pulling the plug on A Simple Favor 2, it looks like Blake might be burning some serious Hollywood bridges. Honestly, it's quite hard to predict what's next for Blake, whether she'll bounce back or if this is the beginning of even bigger career mess. I guess we'll just have to sit back and see how it unfolds. And let's not even get into the fact that Justin is asking for a cool $400 million in damages. Like, he is in a war zone and fighting hard, which he must because his reputation is on the line here. At the end of the day, it's giving he said, she said, but if this keeps up, it might just turn into he wins, she loses. Fans are already picking sides, and right now, it's not looking too good for Blake. Y'all, It Ends With Us is ending in the court, and something tells me it's only gonna get messier from here.
Hey, Blake. It is 2 in the morning. Hopefully this does not wake you up. I want to start with an apology. Man, reading the second part of your message, my heart sank. And I'm really sorry.
You guys, the new leaked audio of Justin and Blake just dropped, and let's just say it's over for Blake. But something else has now come up. Some people are saying Justin just shot himself in the foot, that this recording doesn't help him at all, especially since he's heard telling Blake, I'm sorry, I messed up. I didn't mean to make you feel that way. But no. I sat through all 7 minutes of this, so you don't have to. And contrary to what many think, this audio actually works in Justin's favor. People are just missing the bigger picture here. If you really listen, you'll hear exactly how Blake flips the script, plays the victim, and tries to trap him in her web of gaslighting and manipulation. It is all right there. And once I break it down for y'all, it is gonna make so much sense. Not only that, Justin Baldoni's mom called Blake a liar. And believe it or not, Ryan Reynolds' ex-wife Scarlett Johansson has also entered the chat. Could she be the reason why Ryan can't stand Justin Baldoni? We're about to find out. Y'all, there is a lot to unpack here, so grab your popcorn and let's get right into it.
I for sure fell short, and you worked really hard on that, and the way you framed it, and how that made you feel. I just want to say thank you for sharing that with me. That takes a lot of trust and vulnerability.
First things first, for this to make sense, let's set the scene by first understanding why this audio was even sent in the first place. Remember the now infamous rooftop scene? That's where the chaos erupted. And we have heard time and time again, Blake had a vision for a particular rooftop scene in a movie, but apparently she wasn't feeling Justin's cut. Instead of just letting it slide, she went full boss mode and sent in a rewritten version to director Justin Baldoni. Now, you'd think that this would be a normal back and forth, right? Think again, because when Justin turned down her suggestion, things took a turn. Nevertheless, Blake wasn't about to let her vision get sidelined. So she pulled up the big guns, her inner circle, basically Ryan Reynolds and Taylor Swift. Yep, according to experts, Blake invited Justin over only for him to walk into what was basically a high-profile intervention. Taylor and Ryan allegedly started hyping up Blake's version of the scene like it was the next cinematic masterpiece, putting Justin in the most awkward position ever. Imagine trying to turn down a script change when Deadpool and one of the biggest artists of all time are staring you down. Now, Justin, being the good guy that he is, didn't want any drama, so he later reassured Blake that he appreciated her passion and that she did not have to involve anyone else for him to believe her. But here's where things got messy. Blake wasn't just looking for a thanks for the effort. She wanted her work to be taken seriously. And when she felt like Justin wasn't giving it the respect she expected, she hit him with a long emotional message about how she has been overlooked in the past. She went on about how Taylor and Ryan are her creative soulmates, the first people she shares all her ideas with, and how they have been there for her when others have dismissed her contributions. Basically, she made it clear that their support for her rewrite was major, and Justin should take that as proof that it deserved a spot in the film. Unbeknownst to Justin, all this was just to guilt trip him into accepting Blake's rewrite, right after being bullied at dinner the previous day. At this point, Justin Justin was literally pressed against the wall and even suffocated, and I know this because he later sent a voice note that got leaked. Y'all, when I say that this man was apologizing for existing, it was painful to listen to. He legit believed that he had failed her, apologizing like 50 times and basically bowed down, saying that he was excited to go through the whole movie with her.
And I'm excited to go through the whole movie with you. I'm just excited to spend time with you. I'm excited to be in your sphere and your presence, and for us to share creative juices together, although that sounds terrible. You know, I think you and I have been trying to build a relationship, which I think we've done successfully. I mean, here we are talking like this, me into my phone at 2 a.m, but there's nothing more exciting to me like that I get to work with Blake Lively and have her, all of her.
Now, this audio may not be great for Justin's case, but he was honest that he would share everything, and he has, even if it makes him come off as a people pleaser. But here's what people don't seem to get. This man is fighting for his life and reputation. If this audio where he clearly was emasculated and literally begging for a star to treat him better in his own movie is what it would take to prove his innocence, so be it. It does not make him look great, but neither does it support Blake's narrative that Justin wants all these things that she claims. No, seriously guys, if Taylor Swift and Ryan Reynolds were backing someone into a creative decision, most people would cave too. But this whole situation has people split. Some people say that Blake was just fighting for her artistic vision and used the resources she had, aka her ultra famous friends. Others feel like she low-key manipulated her way into getting what she wanted. Either way, the leaked audio makes it very clear that Justin was left with no choice but to include her changes. Because when Hollywood's power circle gets involved, saying no isn't really an option. And now we connect the dots to what really happened back at Blake's house. This is where it all starts making sense in the most twisted, manipulative way possible. The fact that Ryan Reynolds had his hands all over this thing is the real plot twist. Because if y'all can remember, Blake Lively really played the long game here. She had everyone fooled, acting like she was the creative genius behind that rooftop scene, only to later find out that Ryan was the one who wrote it from the jump. Think about it. She made Justin Baldoni go through all that drama, let him believe he had creative control, played the victim card, and even had Taylor Swift in on the act, only to reveal the truth on the red carpet a whole year later?
My husband actually wrote it. Nobody knows that, but you know.
So all that crying, all that, oh, they don't respect my vision energy was a straight up performance. A lie, a manipulation tactic. Ryan was behind the curtain the whole time pulling the strings, and Justin was just the fall guy. We have to talk about how they set him up. We have to. Remember guys, everything was fine between Blake and Justin at the start. Like she was even okay inviting Justin to her trailer and penthouse while Ryan was away shooting Deadpool and Wolverine in Canada. But then the SAG-AFTRA strike happened and he had to come back home, and the moment he got his nose into Blake's business, all these crazy stories ensued. That's when she suddenly started making crazy demands, like wanting to see all the raw footage to see everything that was going on set. Does that sound like Blake to you? Not to forget that Ryan would later on try to force Justin to sell the movie to Blake. Besides inserting himself in Blake's work when the SAG-AFTRA strike ended, which meant production was supposed to resume as normal, people don't believe it was a coincidence that the second Ryan was about to hop back on a plane to Canada, boom! Blake Lively writes Justin and Wayfair Studios an email with a list of 17 crazy demands, even adding that failure to act, she would not go to work. And just like that, Wayfair Studios had to stop filming and deal with the crisis first. And let's not forget the gaslighting, because how are you gonna tell a whole production company that you need an intimacy coordinator when there's documented proof that they got you one, but you refused 1 month ago? And not just refused it, straight up laughed about it, made jokes, sent casual texts like it wasn't a big deal, but then suddenly it's a deal breaker? Suddenly it's a crisis? No. This was never about the intimacy coordinator. This was about control, about power. The dots have connected, and people are saying that this was about Ryan making sure that Blake wasn't spending any more time with Justin Baldoni, period. And to do that, he had to throw a wrench in the entire production and make it seem like it was all for her safety. Does this whole thing sound like Blake's idea to you? And you know what's even crazier? This wasn't even about the movie anymore. This was about making sure Justin Baldoni knew his place. Justin got played because at the end of the day, the film got taken out of Justin's hands and there was an attempt to have the entire industry believe that Justin was difficult. Such a calculated sabotage. But this story is far from over because Justin Baldoni's family just entered the chat, and at this point, Blake is experiencing the worst secondhand embarrassment ever. Y'all, Justin Baldoni's family is swinging hard for him. And you know things are bad when Mama Bear enters the chat. We'll talk about the wife later, but let's start with Justin's mom, Sharon Baldoni, who has come through for her son in ways that should make Blake concerned. Basically, Sharon Baldoni grabbed a megaphone and said, "Blake Lively, you are not even on my son's level, sweetie." Okay, I'm being dramatic. She didn't exactly say it like that. One thing the world is learning about the Baldonis ever since this whole circus started is that this family keeps it classy. But trust me, the message was loud. And if you think we're reaching, then buckle up, because this is a masterclass in mom mode clapbacks. It all went down when Justin, being the family man that he is, had a much-deserved bonding time with his family members in Hawaii, and fans loved to see it. On top of that, he was also celebrating his 41st birthday, so naturally there were floods of birthday tributes from his loved ones and loves. Meanwhile, Blake Lively and her husband are probably sitting somewhere awkwardly trying to figure out where they went wrong. Blake could literally be in utter shock that Justin is out here being celebrated just for existing. Anyways, I digress. Let's narrow it down to two particular birthday tributes because that's where the scoop is. Guys, it wasn't the usual happy birthday, love you messages. Oh no. They came with energy. First up, his mom, who low-key just made it clear that anyone coming for her son will be ashamed so gracefully that they won't even notice. Sharon took to Instagram with a picture from the Jane the Virgin days, back when Justin was busy being iconic, and paired it with a caption so layered, many people may have missed its true purpose. Here's what she wrote. "Happy birthday, Justin. Remembering a wonderful moment after the final ending of Jane the Virgin. A moment where joy and love permeated the set, where friendships and family were born, and kindness and integrity permeated the hearts of all the actors and crew, where sadness only entered because it was the final scene of a wonderful journey and the beginning of the rest of our lives. Kindness, integrity, permeated." Did you catch that? Clearly, Sharon isn't just reminiscing here. She is drawing a line in the sand. But wait, there's more. She goes on to say, "A happy, loving, and generous memory with hearts exploding with possibilities. Life has its moments and also its surprises as you keep your integrity through it all. Justice and truth will shine today and into eternity. I love you more than you will ever know. Happy birthday, my beautiful boy. May God continue to bless you in truth." Let's talk about the word truth, because in case you didn't catch it, she used it twice in that short paragraph, and trust me, it wasn't intentional, neither was it thrown in there casually. She made sure we felt it. No, seriously, let's be real. The whole integrity thing feels like it was aimed directly at Blake, who has been catching strays left and right since her failed attempt to get Justin canceled. It won't be too far-fetched to say Sharon Baldoni just called Blake Lively a liar who has never heard of the word integrity. And y'all, if that wasn't enough to have Blake and Ryan sweating, Justin's wife, Emily, came through with her own birthday shout out. Now, Emily kept it short and sweet, but don't let that fool you. The message was loud, clear, and directed to Blake's mean soul. She wrote, "Happy birthday, my love, celebrating the man, husband, and father that you are. I choose you again and again. I choose you again and again." Let's unpack that because the energy is powerful. This was a reminder that Justin is that guy. Like, imagine being Blake and realizing your marriage could never. Justin is being celebrated as a husband, a father, and a man of integrity, while Blake is out here, doing Blake things like harassing interns and locking movie producers in basements. Like, Emily and Sharon are not getting enough love for how they tag teamed this. The unity in this family is a master class for Blake and Ryan Reynolds, and they should study it. Blake may have unfollowed the Baldonis, but I'm 100% sure someone must have sent them these 2 posts, and she most likely thought, why are these so personal? Because they are. But the real MVP here was Mama Baldoni. She is not just defending her son, she is setting the record straight for the whole world to see. And the best part is that she did it without even mentioning Blake's name. But everyone knows it's about you. Iconic. It won't come as a surprise if this sent Blake and her PR team into a full panic mode right now, trying to figure out how to spin this, because Justin coming off as a grounded family man doesn't look good for her already hopeless case. But good luck, because there's no coming back from being indirectly called a liar with no integrity by Justin's mom. Like, if Sharon Baldoni is coming for you, it's game over. Pack it up. So here we are celebrating Justin Baldoni's birthday while Blake Lively is somewhere regretting all her life choices. Justin's got the career, the family, the integrity, and now the most savage mom in Hollywood backing him up. Meanwhile, Blake's over there hoping people forget about this by next week. Well, we won't. Because if there is one thing stronger than Hollywood drama, it's a mother's love. But wait, y'all, it does not stop there. Turns out while Blake is out here spiraling, Ryan Reynolds is quietly seething in the background because a new revelation has just been made, proving that Ryan's grudge against Justin doesn't even start with Blake. Nope, this goes way deeper. It's about his other ex, Scarlett Johansson, and let's just say Justin played a huge role in a project that Ryan probably wishes never existed. Oh, the layers of this mess, and we must talk about this. Believe it or not, Justin Baldoni isn't just living rent-free in Ryan Reynolds' head. He's redecorating, hosting a housewarming party, and sending out invites. Like I've said, this has nothing to do with Blake Lively again. It's about Ryan's ex-wife Scarlett Johansson and the career moves that have Ryan absolutely pressed. Let's rewind for a second. We all know Justin is one of the co-founders of Wayfarer Studios, the same studio behind the hit adaptation of It Ends With Us, among many other projects. But Wayfarer's got another project brewing, Eleanor the Great. Stay with me, guys. Last year, it was announced that Scarlett was making her debut as a director in the movie Eleanor the Great. And guess who's funding it? Yep, Justin Baldoni's Wayfarer Studios. Now, that's the kind of plot twist Hollywood writers dream of. Here's why this stings for Ryan. Remember the history between Blake and Ryan meeting for the first time? For those who missed it, Ryan Reynolds allegedly met Blake Lively on the set of The Green Lantern in 2010 while they were both still very much in committed relationships. Ryan was married to Scarlett at the time, and Blake was dating her longtime boyfriend and Gossip Girl co-star Penn Badgley. According to multiple reports from people who were on set, Ryan and Blake were allegedly sneaking off on dates and even disappearing into hotel rooms together. Both of them swore up and down that their previous relationships ended before anything serious happened, but the timeline is super sus. The relationship between Ryan and Scarlett has been standoffish, and Ryan clearly resents Scarlett. Fast forward to now, and you can see why Ryan would hate Justin's guts for helping Scarlett with the biggest career milestone of her life. And if you think this is just speculation, let's not forget Scarlett's very telling interview post-divorce. She described Ryan as an overbearing control freak who expected her to drop everything to cater to him while he enjoyed his independence. A source at the time revealed that Ryan could be an overbearing control freak. He's more traditional and Scarlett was more independent. Ugh, it's no wonder things got messy. The source also added that Ryan's double standards wore her down. On the one hand, he loved her independence, so he would enjoy solo activities like riding motorbikes around Europe during the summer, living her best life, but would also allegedly demand for Scarlett to drop everything and give him full attention whenever it suited him. Word is that it just became too much for Scarlett, and eventually their marriage collapsed under the weight of Ryan's ego. But this isn't just about a failed marriage, it's about Ryan's image. You see, Ryan works hard to portray himself as the cool, funny, laid-back guy, but the cracks in that facade are starting to show. Behind the scenes, Ryan allegedly has a reputation for being petty, controlling, and and deeply insecure. If you really think about it, Ryan wouldn't have been in this mess if he didn't try to get his hands all over It Ends With Us and apparently rewrote the balcony scene. This was his wife's project, not his. And now seeing his ex-wife team up with the very man who is currently indirectly contributing to his downfall, that must have cut deep, especially when you consider how much of a career milestone Eleanor the Great is for Scarlett and how it's being hyped up in the industry. For Ryan, it's not just personal, it's professional humiliation. At the end of the day, Ryan's grudge against Justin is about so many things, but the top of the list being power, control, and the fragile ego of a man who is watching his perfect image unravel. Justin is thriving. He's got the family, the career, and now the ultimate flex, funding Scarlett Johansson's directorial debut.
So all along, when we thought maybe Blake wanted the rights, I mean, she might end up being the director, right? But in all utter reality, maybe Colleen Hoover did not want to give up her rights to the second film.
Colleen Hoover plotted for months to push Justin Baldoni out and snatch back the rights to her book. And as you're about to see, she was straight up unhinged about it. It didn't matter if Baldoni's entire reputation got dragged through the mud, she was locked in on taking him down by any means necessary. And with Blake Lively by her side, she pulled off one of the shadiest moves Hollywood has ever seen. Backing Blake's claims with zero proof and stealing the project right from under him. And now that the heat is on, she's suddenly retiring? Diabolical! From dodging accountability over her son's alleged scandal to plotting behind Justin's back, Colleen's moves have been nothing short of shocking. But is this really the end for her, or is she just trying to escape the fallout and public humiliation? Buckle up, loves, we're about to shame the shameless. To give y'all some context real quick, back in 2019, before It Ends With Us was the massive sensation it is today, Justin Baldoni saw something special in the book and reached out to Colleen personally. And they would later exchange emails on emails of him gushing over the story, calling it romantic, beautiful, and tragic. Like, Justin was fully invested in this book long before it became TikTok hype. And Colleen was clearly living for it. She responded ASAP immediately after realizing Justin had pure intentions for the book. Like, she was so into the idea of Justin adapting her work that she even suggested he play Ryle, the main male lead. Interestingly enough, fast forward to the casting process, and Colleen was also the one who recommended that Blake be hired because she was apparently a fan, and Justin did just that. So Blake wasn't the only one who arm twisted Justin's hands until he gave in. He had already had a similar experience with Colleen. Justin Baldoni might be nice and all, but he really has to stop people pleasing. I digress. The point is that everything was fine between Colleen Hoover and Justin Baldoni until Kelsey and her dragons came into the picture. And in what we can say was a betrayal to Justin, Colleen suddenly switched up on him. She started backing Blake Lively, who, remember, hadn't even read the book before taking the role. Literally, Blake wasn't even aware of Colleen's existence. This is the person she defended even without sufficient evidence, and now that the backlash is here, she is deleting her socials and acting like she wasn't a part of the mess. Guys, Colleen was upstairs with the rest of the cast when Justin and his family were locked in the basement on that fateful day. The betrayal is real. Fans have been dragging Colleen for throwing Justin under the bus like that, all because a bigger name walked into the room. And now that things blew up, she didn't even have the decency to address it, but rather delete Instagram. Oh, the plot thickens, y'all. Turns out Blake wasn't the first one to act tone deaf when she promoted her hairline and drinks. Would you believe that the actual author, who is on record saying this book was based on a true story, her parents' marriage, tried to drop an It Ends With Us coloring book? Like a book about youth, trauma, and serious real-life issues, and she thought it needed a coloring book? Fans lost it, and she had to pull it back real quick. Many suspected that she was frustrated that she sold the book before it took off and didn't make as much money as she could have, and of course, Justin wasn't gonna give her the rights back. Now that I think about it, that might have been where she started to resent Justin now that he was making more money than her. However, unlike Blake Lively, Colleen actually apologized and pulled down the the coloring book when she was called out. But that's not even the worst part of her controversy streak, you guys. Rumors have been swirling about Colleen's son allegedly SAing a 16-year-old after they met on Snapchat, despite knowing her age and that she was still in school. She says she reached out to Colleen. Instead of handling it like a responsible adult, Colleen blocked the kid. A whole grown woman who writes about abuse and trauma just ignored and silenced a victim instead of addressing the situation, just because it was her son involved. Make it make sense. Of course, when contacted, she defended her son, saying the things being said were inaccurate and that the 16-year-old had twisted the story. We discussed what happened. I apologized to her, thanked her for bringing this to my attention, and I offered to send her our home address and lawyer info should she want it. I held my son accountable for sending a message to her that was inappropriate. Oh, by the fan, word is that this case is actually the main reason she deleted her IG in the first place, because this story had started resurfacing when she defended Blake without any evidence. This woman has built an entire career off of writing about abuse survivors, yet when it's actually time to stand up for the right thing, she's nowhere to be found. Whether it's the Justin drama, the Blake Lively situation, or the accusations involving her son, Colleen Hoover is looking real funny in the light. The internet is rightfully on her neck, as this is no longer just a book adaptation anymore. It's about someone who claims to be an advocate for survivors, but repeatedly makes choices that prove otherwise. And the way she dipped off social media the moment things got real has painted her as someone with zero accountability and zero problem-solving skills. We're just getting started, y'all. It Ends With Us has a chain of issues right from the author. More receipts are coming, and it's looking worse by the second. Let's talk about how Blake and Colleen allegedly ganged up to take the rights of the book away from Justin Baldoni. It all started when people were rather surprised when, literally out of nowhere, Colleen hopped on social media showering Blake with praise after she blasted Justin for allegedly SAing her on set. What now seems to be pure lies, saying she called Blake honest, kind, supportive, and patient, and then thanked her for being a nice human. What? Now, let's pause for a second. This is the same Blake Lively who's being accused of steamrolling the entire film production just so she could take control. The same Blake who, according to leaked info, was way more concerned with the aesthetics of the movie than actually staying true to the story. The same Blake who allegedly only got involved because she wanted to flex her Hollywood power. The one that used her two dragons to get a whole scene changed and was totally chaotic on set. This is Colleen's version of a nice human. So for Colleen to switch up and throw all her support behind Blake, yeah, it rubbed a lot of people the wrong way. They are saying that if Blake's whole narrative about Justin was the truth, more people would have spoken up by now, like cast members, crew, anybody, saying Justin was a nightmare to work with, but not at all. It's Blake that has a truckload of accusations stemming literally decades ago. The point is, Blake has clearly been leading this charge, and Colleen is following right behind her. Oh my goodness, there have been theories. Some think Colleen just wanted to stay in Hollywood's good graces. Others think that Colleen was just frustrated that Justin wasn't making her as much money as she could have with someone like Blake running the show. Either way, it's looking like Colleen made a bad bet. Now she knows she brought this backlash on herself. You don't just blindly side with the rich and famous and expect people not to notice. The internet isn't as easy to manipulate as it used to be. We've seen what happened with Jennifer Lopez, with other celebs who thought they could just do whatever they wanted and get away with it. No, people are waking up, and Colleen has just had to learn the hard way. There's also other footage that has people believing that Colleen was in and wanted to double-cross Baldoni. In a CNN interview with Blake, when asked if she'd do a sequel, Blake said she would, as long as Colleen had the rights. Now, correct me if I'm wrong, but the last time we checked, Justin Baldoni and Wayfarer Studios already owned those rights? So how is Colleen acting like that was even a possibility? What did she and Blake know that the rest of the world didn't?
What? Sorry, what? You can have a what?
A sequence, like it starts with this.
Oh. I mean, if Colleen has her rights, I'll go anywhere. I'll follow this woman anywhere.
Y'all heard her.
Colleen Colleen just sat there looking real comfortable when Blake made such a diabolical and suggestive statement, basically hinting that Colleen could get her movie rights back from Justin. It's all just too convenient, and people believe they must have discussed this. Remember, by this time, they had tried all tactics in the book to make Justin sell the movie to Blake, but he refused. Loves, when you start piecing everything together, the picture ain't looking too good for Miss Hoover. And right after that little PR moment, Colleen quietly launched her own production company, Heart Bones Entertainment. Oh yeah. It's all in the receipts. In October, Variety casually drops a little bomb in the article about another Colleen Hoover movie deal. She and her partner had started a whole production company to produce future adaptations. Now, why would she do that if she didn't think she was getting control back? And let's not forget, in the same month, she switched her legal representation to a big name law firm that handles A-listers like Johnny Depp and Brad Pitt. That's not just a random business move, that's a strategy. They were preparing for a major power play, a move to have Justin stripped of the rights of the book, which would then conveniently fall on their new company. Let's connect the dots. Blake Lively and Ryan Reynolds have money. They have influence. If they wanted in on Colleen's business, who is to say they didn't help push for a situation where Baldoni was forced out? If Colleen and Blake were already talking about getting her rights back in August, but Justin still legally owned them, then they were planning something behind the scenes. Y'all, this is where it gets straight up sinister. Now we're about to break down exactly why Blake used the claim against Justin, and let me tell you, it wasn't random. This was a calculated move, and the receipts are right here. So when Justin bought the rights to Colleen Hoover's book, It Ends With Us, there was a morality clause written into the contract. Now, if you don't know, morality clauses are super common in deals like this. It's the same type of thing that got Diddy's multiple keys to the city revoked the second that he got hit with those allegations. Basically, if you get caught up in anything shady, especially something as serious as SA, your deal is done. And guess what? This morality clause specifically stated that if Justin was ever accused of SA, the rights to the book would be revoked, meaning the rights would go back to Colleen. And who would Colleen be handing them over to? Blake. Do you now see why Blake specifically sued Justin for that specific clause, and why they were confident that Blake would work on a sequel if Colleen had the rights? They hit him with the one thing that could legally force his removal, an accusation that triggered the morality clause. And once that domino fell, everything else followed. His agency instantly dropped him, the industry turned on him overnight, and suddenly Blake and Colleen were free to do whatever they wanted to with the project. Y'all, this was a setup, a straight up business hit job disguised as a hashtag #MeToo moment. Say what you may, but Colleen isn't as innocent as she would want us to believe. One last proof, loves, there is a whole thread from Reddit where a supposed It Ends With Us crew member spilled the details. This wasn't some after the fact speculation. The information dropped 4 months before the public even knew there were any so-called issues on set, meaning this was planned carefully. Let's go through this Reddit prediction and you'll be shocked how everything literally checks out. The long and the short of it is that Blake Lively allegedly felt uncomfortable around Justin Baldoni, with one specific claim being that he told her she looked sexy in her outfit on set. Meanwhile, Justin wasn't happy with the original editor's cut of It Ends With Us, so he hired his own team to rework it. Blake, wanting her own creative control, asked Sony to let her do the same, but they refused. In response, she allegedly threatened to take a story to the New York Times accusing Justin of sexual harassment unless she got her way. Panicked, Sony caved, banning Justin from the studio and giving Blake full control over the film. Blake brought in Taylor Swift's music video editors while working on another project in Italy, but the film quickly became a mess. Realizing the disaster, she had to hire a professional editor to fix it. Meanwhile, Taylor Swift discovered the film's composer was someone she had a bad history with and gave Sony an ultimatum. Either he goes or she does. Wanting to keep Taylor on the soundtrack, Sony fired the composer, further fueling the chaos surrounding the film. You guys, it literally panned out as planned. These people were going to take out Baldoni and assassinate his character, all for nothing but greed. Had they succeeded, needed to get Justin out of the picture, Colleen would be sitting pretty with her production company, Heartbones Entertainment, locked and loaded, while Blake positioned herself to secure the project just the way she wanted it. The whole thing screams manipulation, greed, and calculated moves disguised as moral outrage. And let's talk about timing. Blake Lively filed her lawsuit and Colleen Hoover hurriedly declared her stand. Then Justin Baldoni fires back and there's overwhelming evidence and she goes silent. But then the moment Justin's attorney Brian Friedman starts making noise about subpoenas and digital evidence, basically saying even their DMs would be admissible in court, boom! January 22nd, her Instagram's gone. Wiped. Like she knew something was coming and needed to clean up before anybody could start digging. What was she trying to hide? This ain't just about a movie anymore. This is about power and greed. Colleen Hoover wanted more. More control, more money, more say in how her books were adapted. And when she saw an opportunity to take it, she took it. The breadcrumbs are all there, and no amount of Instagram deletions or digital scrubbing is going to erase the fact that this whole thing looks like one big, messy takedown of Justin Baldoni. Y'all, the drama just keeps getting messier. As if the whole scandal with Justin, Blake, and Colleen wasn't enough, now we're hearing Colleen Hoover is supposedly retiring. On the flip side, there's a twist to this. Not everyone is canceling Colleen right now. Some are saying that this whole situation might not even be entirely her fault. Word on the street is that Blake manipulated her, possibly feeding her stories about how Justin made her uncomfortable on set. Imagine Blake pulling Colleen to the side like, girl, I don't know what to do. Justin is making me so uncomfortable, but if I say something, it might ruin the whole movie, and I know how important this is to you. Like, if that's what went down, Colleen could have easily been played into thinking she was doing the right thing. If this narrative is anything to go by, the rest of the cast might have fallen for Blake's deceptive ways as well. If Blake was whispering in their ears too, telling Brandon Sklenler, who plays Atlas, that Justin was shady, hyping him up with potential new roles, basically getting everyone to turn against Justin, then this was an orchestrated takedown. Straight up Hollywood Game of Thrones level betrayal. But now, after all of the heat and backlash, Colleen Hoover is allegedly tapping out. She's stepping back from the public eye, and sources are saying she's low-key regretting getting involved. Is it really retirement or running away before more receipts come out? You tell me. At this point, Blake's looking like the true mastermind behind all of this. The lies, the manipulation, the convenient timing of the allegations, it's all starting to crumble. And if Colleen really is retiring, then this whole thing might have backfired in a way that none of them saw coming. At the end of the day, Justin Baldoni came in with good intentions, but Colleen Hoover and Blake Lively had other plans. From Colleen flipping sides with zero receipts to the shady backdoor moves to snatch Justin's rights, this whole situation is super sus. What do y'all think? Was Colleen just another pawn in Blake's game, or was she playing Justin the whole time? B-list actress Blake Lively and her first dragon Ryan Reynolds marriage might not be as picture perfect as we once thought. And now, after this latest situation, fans are now peeling back the mask and things are not okay. Based on the proof y'all are about to see, it is no wonder why people are seriously questioning if they are headed for a split. Not only that, y'all, but things are getting worse for Taylor Swift in this Blake Lively mess because of her involvement, which was way deeper than she cares to admit. And not even taking a break from their friendship can save her right now. You won't believe how she plotted with Blake this whole time just because she was lonely, single, and bored. There is so much to unpack, guys, and so without any further ado, let's get right into it. All right, for context, Ryan and Blake have always been known for their playful roasting, but lately it's starting to feel less like love and more like low-key resentment. Concerned people took it upon themselves to break down Ryan's humor, and let's just say it is not sitting right with a lot of people. The constant jokes at Blake's expense, the subtle digs masked as sarcasm, fans are side-eyeing this entire dynamic, wondering if there's more to it than just couples banter. Now, let's rewind for a sec. Blake and Ryan were once seen as Hollywood's golden couple, funny, charming, and seemingly unbreakable. Their social media interactions were hilarious. The way they trolled each other was kinda iconic. But looking at it now, people are realizing that a lot of Ryan's so-called humor actually paints Blake as the punchline rather than his partner. And honestly, y'all, when does just joking cross the line into something deeper? One clip in particular is making the rounds, Ryan joking about using Blake as a human shield. Y'all, not him literally saying on national television that if they were ever under attack, he would throw Blake in the line of fire to protect their child. Now, of course, people laughed it off at the time, but looking back, it's giving weird energy. Like, why was that even a joke?
I used to say to her, I would take a bullet for you. I could never love anything as much as I love you. I would say that to my wife. And then the second I looked in that baby's eyes, I knew in that exact moment that if we were ever under attack, I would use my wife as a human shield to protect that baby.
It's not just that. There's been a pattern of Ryan publicly downplaying Blake. On her birthday, instead of making a sweet post like any normal husband, there's a time he tweeted this. Just wanted to wish Billy Ray Cyrus the most special, magical birthday ever. I love you with all my heart. Also, happy birthday, Blake. Guys, this was on Blake's actual birthday. Like, he has this habit of mentioning Blake as an afterthought. Like, oh yeah, happy birthday to my wife too. Be so serious right now. The way social media dragged him for that was honestly deserved. But here's where things get extra messy. People are starting to put two and two together and noticing that Ryan might have a history of wanting to be the bigger star in the relationship. Remember, he was married to Scarlett Johansson before, and sources claim he didn't like that she was just as successful as him. Now with Blake, it's like he wants to be the funny, cool one while she's just there. And let's not forget the Justin Baldoni situation. This whole legal battle they're in has people wondering if there was some underlining personal tensions there too. As it is, word is that Ryan threw a major tantrum because according to him, Blake and Justin got too close and he hated it, especially because he was far from home shooting Deadpool and Wolverine. The streets are talking, y'all. At the end of the day, whether these two are actually headed for a split or just dealing with some tension, one thing is clear. This dynamic is not looking like hashtag couple goals anymore. And if fans are picking up on all of this, you just know that something is up behind the scenes. Their seemingly crumbling marriage aside, Blake's second dragon and former friend Taylor Swift is in the thick of Baldoni's lawsuit, you guys. Oh, by the way, I'm saying former friend because for those who didn't have internet access, Taylor announced stepping back from their friendship because apparently she did not appreciate how much her name got intertwined in the It Ends With Us saga all the way to court. Like, people can no longer overlook the fact that Taylor Swift is some innocent bystander in all of this. The receipts are out and it looks like Taylor has been a major part of the puzzle from the jump, and now that the heat is on, she is scrambling to play the victim. Without wasting time, let's get into the facts, because the way that she has allegedly played into this entire takedown, clearly she and the Reynolds family underestimated Justin Baldoni. So first off, people have noted that their little friendship circle has been moving funny. Swifties can attest that Taylor kept her love life super private, literally moving like a ghost until April 2023 when things really started getting sketchy following her breakup with Joe Alwyn after 5 whole years of laying low. So now the breakup happens and suddenly Taylor is everywhere. And guess who's right there with her? Blake and Ryan. Stay with me, loves. This will all make sense shortly. This particular rebranding moment post-breakup was suspiciously timed with what we now know was the beginning of a serious smear campaign. Let's break it down because behind the scenes, the gears were turning against Baldoni. Now, let's talk about the real power play here. Taylor Swift is not just some celebrity floating through life, she's a media powerhouse. The kind of influence she has is on a whole different level. Like, for sure, some industry insiders have been whispering about how much control she really has over media narratives. Taylor has the kind of power to push a story when she wants it pushed or silence something and it completely disappears. Don't forget the New York Times took a massive risk with the hit piece on Baldoni. A risk that wouldn't make sense unless someone with real weight was backing it. And as much as Ryan Reynolds is a Hollywood darling, he does not have that kind of power to instruct the publishers to push a particular narrative. The way this all lined up, it's giving one conclusion: Taylor was in it, whether directly or indirectly. Maybe she had the connections, maybe she gave the green light, maybe she just sat back and let it happen while enjoying the show, but innocent? Please, that's a stretch. And now that the heat is turning up, Taylor is running damage control, making sure that her hands look clean while Blake and Ryan take the fall. Classic move. And the craziest part is that it's working. The same media she can control is now doing backflips to make sure that she doesn't get dragged into it. But we see the breadcrumbs and they all lead back to Taylor's doorstep. And y'all, if you thought this mess couldn't get any messier, buckle up, because we are now in full-blown scandal mode. Now, let's rewind a bit. Blake Lively and Ryan Reynolds didn't just throw a couple of shade moments here and there. No. They went full on Justin Baldoni, and here's why people are convinced Taylor was in on it. See, Taylor Swift is famous for including hidden messages, clues, or references, which she low-key places in her projects for fans to discover. It's like an inside joke or secret detail meant for her fans to pay close attention. For example, she does sneaky little credit changes, like the time that she gave Joe Alwyn a fake name in her song credits, so fans had to play detective. Now, guys, what are the odds that Blake and Ryan pulled the same move in the It Ends With Us credits as a mere coincidence? If you check out the names Blake decided to special thanks to, you'll notice the name Gordon Reynolds. Now, who is Gordon Reynolds? Exactly. That name means nothing until you check the Deadpool credits, where they use the same alias for Nicepool. For those who are lost, Nicepool is a controversial character in Deadpool who is believed to be used to mock Justin Baldoni. Sources say that even though the character was created way before Blake and Justin's fallout, the scenes involving Nicepool were shot late in the game, following the November 2023 conclusion of the SAG-AFTRA strike. Y'all, they straight up used Justin Baldoni's own movie to mock him. The level of petty here is Olympic tier. Bear in mind that this happened when the three would hang out together a lot, and the beef between Justin and Blake was at an all-time high. It's understandable that people strongly believe Taylor may have suggested they use her standard Easter eggs technique to shade Baldoni and loves. That's how the name Gordon Reynolds ended up in the It Ends With Us credits. On top of that, Taylor also hyped up Deadpool and Wolverine like it was her own project. On Instagram, she went off about how much Ryan put into the film, calling it a joy portal and all that. Meanwhile, this is the same film that had her besties dropping hidden jabs at Justin. The whole situation is giving Mean Girls energy, and we've witnessed a disturbing number of people exposing Blake's cold personality and main character energy. Blake and Taylor got a little too caught up in the Taylor Swift cinematic universe and forgot that real life has real consequences. So let's not get it twisted. Taylor Swift is no damsel in distress. She knows exactly how to maneuver in this industry, and this situation is no different. Of course, Swifties can keep believing the carefully crafted headlines, but the real ones see what's up. Oh, it is far from over, y'all, because guess what? Justin Baldoni is intending to use those Deadpool scenes to prove his case. Baldoni's attorney, Brian Friedman, already sent a letter to the Disney CEO and Marvel Studios in which he asked the studio to preserve any documents regarding Baldoni and the creation of Nicepool, a minor character in Deadpool and Wolverine that internet sleuths and Friedman himself say star writer-producer Ryan Reynolds used to mock Baldoni. Cannot wait to see how this plays out in court. And oh, by the way, there is now an official court date, March 2026. So this is over a year from now, because this drama is about to be legally dissected. Many people believe Blake is going to reach out to settle, because with the kind of compromising footage out, this is pretty much an open and shut case. But until then, y'all already know we're barely scratching the surface, and as always, I'll be keeping you posted on every single update. Thanks, loves, for watching, and I'd love to hear your opinions on this. Do you think Ryan low-key hates Blake? Justin Baldoni's lawyer, Brian Friedman, is out here literally celebrating. You'd think they have already won the case, but it looks like they have, because this new leaked footage is all the proof they needed to show that indeed Blake stole the movie from Justin. Honestly, they might not be too far off, and with all the new info spilling, it's looking worse and worse for Blake Lively. In other news, the Grammys just happened, and I need to start a petition for these celebs to fire their stylists ASAP, because what was that? Do they even get the invites on time, or do some of them just show up looking like they got ambushed in the middle of a toilet cleaning shift? Y'all are about to see my point in a minute, but very quickly, we need to talk about the latest in the Justin versus Blake, and once again, I'm thrilled to report that Blake stays embarrassing herself. Let's get right into it. So, after the first hearing, Brian Friedman wasted no time talking to the press, even though the judge had earlier warned both teams about being too chatty. Well, Brian wasn't holding back because Justin and his team are ready to move fast and prove their innocence. Hence, added that people shouldn't jump to conclusions because they aren't even done uploading evidence for the public to see. Meanwhile, Blake's legal team is trying to spin this whole thing in her favor, acting like they came out on top just because the judge reminded both sides to play fair. But let's talk about what really went down. Blake was trying to get a gag order put in place so Justin's side would have to keep quiet. Did she win? No. And she also lost another battle. Brian Friedman will get to depose her right after she refused the first time. That means he's gonna get the chance to ask her all the tough questions under oath. And if she's hiding something, it's gonna come out. Here's where things take a wild turn. People have been digging up old clips, and guys, this footage is not looking good for Blake. There is a video from a past event where she straight up admits to showing a rough cut of the film, even when the studio told her not to. Like, Sony only allowed her to show 20 minutes of the cut, but her main character syndrome and insufferable personality got in the way, and she showed the whole thing. Excuse me? Not only that, but the way she talks about it is insane. She basically laughs it off, saying they don't care, just show them the movie. Girl, who is they? Because if she's talking about the audience, sure, but if she's talking about Sony, that's a problem. And let's not even ignore the elephant in the room. Where was Justin in all of this? Why wasn't he included in these events? And why does it seem like she was out here moving like she owned everything?
Uplands, you own everything.
And then Brandon hasn't seen it, so we're gonna sit through it.
We just manifested that.
But and just know, it's literally, this is not a bit. It's literally not done. So to be honest, what really happened is we were like, we're gonna show the movie, and the studio was like, no, you're gonna show 20 minutes. So we're like, no, we're gonna show the movie. And they're like, it's not done. And I was like, they don't care. Let's just show them the movie.
Because you're gonna go again, aren't you? You're gonna go watch it in theaters too.
At this point, people are starting to connect the dots. Justin was the one who originally found the book, got the rights, and put in the work to bring it to life. And yet, somehow, Blake ended up in the driver's seat making executive moves. And now, with this resurfaced footage, it's giving exactly what everyone suspected. She took over, and she did it in a way that wasn't exactly ethical. This case is far from over because with every new detail, it's looking worse and worse for her side. Hollywood's most desperate upcoming producer and C-list actress, Blake Lively, is officially done for, as her former human dragon bestie Taylor Swift has had it with her using her name to intimidate people and have her way. It is no longer rumor, guys. Taylor is making it clear that she is not anyone's get-out-of-jail-free card. TMZ dropped a bombshell article on this, and let's just say Blake might need to find a new dragon to ride. But that's just the tip of the drama iceberg. We've got to talk about Colleen Hoover's tone-deaf return to social media and her delusional post about this whole mess. Totally makes sense why she befriended Blake. These two are birds of a feather. Oh, and don't even get me started on Ryan Reynolds fake smiling his way through this mess, staging paparazzi shoots, and doing the absolute most to protect his scrambling, nice guy image. This is straight up wild, and the drama is unfolding fast, so grab your popcorn and let's get right into it.
It can't always be that Taylor Swift is being used. She can't always be being used. I'm sorry. It's been like 20 years of her being used, and I don't feel that that is the true story.
So Blake Lively has found herself in the middle of a mess that even her overpriced PR team can't clean up. TMZ just dropped an exclusive, and let's just say the former gossip girl is looking desperate. Apparently, Taylor Swift has finally woken up and realized that Blake was using her like an overpriced designer handbag. For context, just last week, speculations about their strained friendship was all up in the the air, as there was all these reports about C-list actress Blake and actual superstar Taylor having issues, but Blake's PR was quick to counter the claims as false. But loves, a lot can change in 7 days, and by a lot, I mean TMZ coming through with a headline that probably made Blake's hair fall off in a way that even her hair care products cannot fix. Just the title alone. Taylor Swift, Bad Blood with Blake Lively, I am not your dragon. Y'all, not the dragon. Taylor is feeling some type of way about being dragged into Blake's behind-the-scenes beef, and she is more than happy to throw Blake under the bus because as someone with actual talent, she has everything to lose. Sources claim Taylor believes Blake used her as a pawn in her ongoing war with Justin Baldoni, specifically that she hates how Blake referred to her as one of her dragons. No, seriously, that bit was super cringe. Who even talks like that? Imagine thinking you're Daenerys Targaryen when you're really just a glorified shampoo commercial star. Well, now Taylor's out here revealing the entire friendship. And by the way, guys, remember how we later came to find out Blake never read the book It Ends With Us? I'm also beginning to think she never watched Game of Thrones because Kelsey ended up hated, betrayed, and dead. So maybe not the best analogy. Oh, or maybe that's how this whole thing will end. I mean, she's hated already. We also got to hear Taylor's version of what really went down at Blake's penthouse that night. According to Taylor's mouthpiece to TMZ, Taylor came to Blake's apartment at the time that Blake told her to, not knowing anyone else would be there. In other words, Taylor had no idea there was a meeting going on with Justin. For those who might have missed it, Taylor is referring to the critical meeting Baldoni included in his lawsuit against Blake, which happened at Blake and Ryan Reynolds' New York City penthouse with Justin to discuss a scene that Blake had rewritten for It Ends With Us. Justin has said the meeting got super heated and he felt ambushed because Ryan and Taylor showed up. Taylor is now saying that she was ambushed by Blake, who now we can all agree is the ever so strategic social climber. She went over to Blake's place thinking that she was just popping in for some light girl talk, and suddenly she's in the middle of a tense meeting with Baldoni, Ryan Reynolds, and Blake herself. A setup, if you will. But fans are a bit divided on this, you guys. Taylor Swift has been around for far too long to not recognize when someone is trying to leverage her name. At some point, Taylor just has to stop this whole victim mentality that she keeps peddling around. Like, in this case, for instance, apparently Blake has been doing this for years. The source says that Taylor is also just learning about this, like the time that she told a young actress that Taylor cast her, which simply did not happen. If it is indeed true that Taylor is done, good for her. Blake had a good run finessing her way into Taylor's squad, got her to godmother her 2 kids, and used her name for clout, but the jig is up. That's not all, guys. Things might get even messier. TMZ is now hinting that Taylor might get subpoenaed over all of this nonsense. TMZ also dropped a podcast. Whew, TMZ has been doing the most. Anyways, in that podcast interview, Justin Baldoni's lawyer, Brian Friedman, is asked about subpoenaing Taylor for a deposition, to which he says that everyone that was there and can help this case is going to be depos. So let's just take a moment to say rest in peace to the Taylor-Blake friendship. It was nice while it lasted, well, for Blake at least, but Taylor has officially packed up and flown away. I can't even begin to imagine Blake's reaction when she read this article. The woman is probably pacing around her Connecticut mansion, throwing back iced lattes and frantically calling Ryan Reynolds like, fix this. By now, we all know he started it. The plot thickens, y'all. More sources have come up with completely different angles to this story. One close to Blake says Blake believes the relationship is not strained, with the two talking regularly. Of course, this has come from Blake. It looks like she's still stuck in denial. Another source apparently revealed that Taylor was pissed about the extent to which she was involved, and specifically she was angry about the dragons remark. But Blake has apologized, they had a good cry, and hugged it out. I told y'all Blake's PR mill is doing the most, but we see through it. Meanwhile, there's this poll floating around asking if Blake betrayed Taylor, and 81% of people are screaming yes, while the other 19%, myself included, are sitting here like, be serious. Taylor Swift is 35, and let's not act like she didn't allegedly have a whole hand in forcing Justin to switch up that scene. Like, let's call a spade, not Big Spoon. I don't know about y'all, but a lot of people are surprised Taylor is seeing the light this late. Speaking of people who haven't seen the light, guess who just emerged from the shadows of social media like nothing ever happened? Our favorite flip-flopping novelist, Colleen Hoover, who just weeks ago dramatically vanished, deleted her IG, and had everyone thinking she was retiring. Well, it turns out that this was just a little attention-seeking moment because she is back, but not where the masses can see her. No. She scurried over to Facebook on her private page where only her hardcore stans can bask in her wisdom. And y'all, she really got on there and said, I promise that I can sleep at night with a peaceful heart. Like, what? Ma'am, you publicly backstabbed Justin Baldoni, who has been your friend for years, hyped up Blake Lively without proof, and in your thirst for Hollywood fame, you twisted your own book into a dumpster fire, and you're sleeping well? Let's rewind real quick. In case anyone forgot, Colleen Hoover and Justin Baldoni were tight. He spent years hyping her up, telling her how much he loved her work, and promising to do It Ends With Us justice. She was totally on board until Blake Lively and her plantation princess energy showed up, waved some Hollywood power around, and took over the entire project. And instead of standing by Justin, Colleen completely switched sides. She went from promoting the movie with Baldoni to doing everything with Blake, acting like Justin wasn't even in the equation. The betrayal was so obvious, people started calling her out left and right. And how did she handle it? By running. She wiped her IG, let the rumors about her retiring spread, and stayed silent while people dragged her name through the mud. And now she's suddenly okay, happy, and at peace. And don't worry, she also reassured her fans that her beloved team still works for her because, in her words, they would fire me before I fired them. Colleen, be serious. And the funniest part is her making this about her mental health and sanity when she made it sound like ditching social media was some kind of self-care move, saying, I don't have social media on my phone anymore, and I promise it's bliss. Girl, you don't have social media because you knew the whole internet was dragging you about supporting Blake and your son allegedly sexually assaulted a person below the age. Let's not act brand new. What's really killing me is the fact that she thinks she's above all the drama when she literally helped create it, turned her back on the one person who actually fought to respect her work, and then disappeared when things got messy, only to pop back up weeks later pretending like none of it happened. I hope none of y'all are believing Colleen's little peaceful heart speech. And if you haven't seen my breakdown yet, you're missing out. I expose how she straight up betrayed Justin Baldoni, tried to swindle him out of the rights to It Ends With Us using a sexual harassment clause, and then acted like she was some innocent bystander when the drama blew up. The receipts are all there, and once you see them, you will never look at her the same way. Do not let her gaslight you, y'all. Go watch this video now and see Colleen Hoover's true colors in 4K. And just when y'all thought that we were done exposing the fakes, buckle up because we're about to talk about Ryan Reynolds' latest PR stunt that flopped harder than Colleen Hoover's attempt at playing the victim. While Colleen was out here deleting Instagram, Ryan was busy running the same tired playbook, except he did it with a staged ass fan meetup. Like, sir, at least put in some effort. So let's set the scene. Last Thursday, Ryan Reynolds conveniently got caught outside of the Paley Center in New York, surrounded by dozens of adoring fans, all holding homemade Deadpool posters. And at first glance, it looks like your standard nice guy moment, Hollywood sweetheart taking a minute out of his busy day to show love to the fans, right? Wrong, because the internet wasted zero time dissecting this moment, and guys, the lies started unraveling immediately. First off, why did every fan have the exact same homemade looking sign? Like, I'm talking the same cardboard, same colorful tape, same overall design, almost like it was all put together by the team of interns at 20th Century Studios. And then someone pointed out the most suspicious part of all. Where were the phones? Y'all, it is 2025. Ain't no way a group of random fans just happened to run into Ryan Reynolds and not a single one of them thought to pull out their phone and record. Not a single blurry IG live, no chaotic TikTok fangirl screaming, oh my gosh, I just met Ryan Reynolds. Nothing? Yeah, that's because this wasn't a real fan moment. It was a carefully planned out PR stunt designed to make Ryan look like a humble, beloved superstar while the real drama behind the scenes was spiraling out of control. This is how you know the legal drama is taking a toll on them, because while Ryan was out here pretending to be Mr. Perfect, his actual focus should have been on the fact that Blake and Justin are going at it legally over It Ends With Us. And Ryan knows that, which is why he's doing everything he can to distract y'all from the real tea. Because the moment people started looking too closely at what's really going on between him, Blake, Justin, and the mess that Colleen left behind, this whole nice guy image is going to start looking a whole lot less squeaky clean. And just when you thought the PR games were over, Ryan hit y'all with another one, posting a pic with Blake acting like they're as solid as ever. This should have been cute, except there's a plot twist. That picture was old. Yeah, while that happy couple pic was giving we're stronger than ever energy, Blake was actually in the Bahamas. So the question is, why is Ryan working this hard to convince y'all that everything's fine? And more importantly, what is he trying to hide? Y'all, this was a lot to unpack, and if there's one thing we've learned, it's that Hollywood will do anything to keep up appearances, even when the truth is crumbling behind the scenes. Do not let these PR stunts fool you. Y'all, Anna Kendrick has literally ended Blake Lively in this new movie in such a way that people are wondering just how many more L's Blake can take before she finally decides to just sit down and accept her fate. This is so bad because, as you'll already know, she's already drowning in the infamous legal drama with Justin Baldoni. Like, this is the last thing that Blake needed, but her mean girl energy is finally catching up to her and she is not handling it well. It's career ending, you guys. But hold up, because that's not the only chaos we need to talk about. Ariana Grande's wannabe lookalike, Paige Neiman, has officially lost it completely, because getting cosmetic procedures just to keep looking like Ari is something none of us had on our 2025 bingo cards. Like, does she even know who she is anymore? And as if that wasn't wild enough, Bad Baby got caught on camera hitting her own mother, and her excuse is straight up unhinged. That's a lot to get into, so grab your popcorn and let's jump right in. To really get why things are so messy between these two, we've got to rewind real quick. Trust me, it all starts to make sense when you see the full picture. You'd think after starring together in A Simple Favor, they'd be besties, or at the very least cordial, right? Well, not so much. Word on the street is that Anna and Blake had beef from the jump, and believe it or not, it might all go back to some shade that Anna threw at Blake's BFF, Taylor Swift, years ago. Back in 2016, Anna did an interview where she joked about how she could never be like Taylor, calling her the perfect Miss America type, while Anna herself preferred a more cynical, sarcastic vibe. It was a harmless comment, but Blake did not find it cute. Fast forward to filming A Simple Favor, and things got pretty awkward between the two. Press tours, promo shoots, behind the scene moments, all of it felt tense. Picture the mayhem and visible bad blood that was obvious between Blake and Justin during It Ends With Us press tour. Yep, it was the same situation in 2016 in all the press tours they attended. Now, here's where it gets even wilder. Despite all of the drama, the studio decided to go ahead with A Simple Favor 2, and fans were shook because these two hadn't even been in the same room for years. According to sources, Anna was hesitant about returning as she just couldn't stand Blake Lively's unliveliness, but the director, Paul Feig, was determined to make it work. As you might have already guessed, the tension on set was so thick you could cut it with a blunt knife. It flared up, guys, and the production reportedly became so toxic that they had to keep Blake and Anna apart just to avoid any blow-ups. And for the longest time, pretty much everyone was convinced that a sequel might never see the light of day. See, insiders have been whispering for years that Blake is impossible to work with, but Anna Kendrick is one of the unfortunate ones to experience it firsthand. Despite all of that drama, Anna absolutely ate Blake up in this film. Early test screenings also show that Anna carried the movie while Blake, well, let's just say that the audience wasn't exactly feeling her vibe. Word is that Blake was so livid when the report came out, so much so that she was refusing to promote the film's sequel. She was sabotaging her own project just because Anna was shining brighter than her. Imagine fumbling a whole bag just because you're mad somebody else is the main character. Yikes. It's said that we only have A Simple Favor sequel because Amazon had spent major coin to buy this movie and had to do whatever it took to make profits. They reportedly even had to shelve and only resumed the project because early test screenings got enthusiastic reviews. Fans were hyped to see Blake and Anna back in action, not knowing that things were thick on set and their off-screen drama almost tanked the whole thing. And listen, both Blake and Anna Kendrick have never addressed the drama directly, but we all saw those passive-aggressive interviews. The energy was off. Anyways, here's the gag, and probably an obvious one by now. This isn't the only fallout Blake is dealing with. Rumors are flying that she was iced out of the Golden Globes earlier this year, with insiders saying that she straight up wasn't welcome. And even more fresh in our minds is the just concluded 2025 Super Bowl, where Blake's absence was very much noticeable. Such a time last year, she was out there posing up with Taylor Swift and Ice Spice. Also, even though Amazon managed to get her through A Simple Favor 2, it's looking like Blake might be burning some serious Hollywood bridges. And y'all already know what that means. The industry is slowly but surely starting to distance itself from her, and honestly, it's about time. At this rate, sooner or later, her only legacy might be as Ryan Reynolds' wife, Taylor Swift's ex-Mean Girl best friend, and the first ever human to ever befriend human-looking dragon.
Nothing good ever comes from pointing the finger at somebody.
Justin Baldoni is breaking down literally in tears after Blake Lively just hit him with another round of pure humiliation again. This lawsuit is taking a mental toll on Baldoni, and his supporters hate to see him in this state. But that's not all there's more. Chappell Roan just got dragged for being a full-on hypocrite following her Grammys acceptance speech, and all it took was a small artist to blast her, complete with receipts proving that she tried to exploit her. And to top it all off, we're exposing the real reason Taylor Swift got booed at the Super Bowl. And trust me, y'all are not ready for this one. This is pure chaos, so grab your snacks because we're diving straight in.
I woke up at 4:30 this morning. My heart was racing. I'm noticing that, I'm having some anxiety.
Right off the bat, we need to talk about Justin Baldoni straight up breaking down over Blake Lively. Like raw emotions, teary-eyed confessions, and even more serious behind-the-scenes drama that completely shuttered Justin. Guys, if you thought this situation couldn't get any messier, it did. By now, everyone is aware of the hostile situation between Blake and Justin, but what hasn't been talked about enough is how all of this has been impacting Baldoni's mental health. As we've now come to learn, he's been down bad, especially after Blake hit him with the lawsuit accusing him of some serious stuff, including SA. This was the kind of situation that could end careers, and if you remember, Baldoni was dropped by his talent agency within hours of Blake's expose. Now, Justin has finally broken his silence, and let me tell you, he did not hold back. In a recent interview, the man straight up broke down, talking about how this whole thing has wrecked him emotionally and financially. And before y'all say he's just being dramatic, his words hit different. I had an intense year, a lot of emotional stress. It's been very hard on me and my family. This is a man that is completely drained. And even though he never mentioned Blake's name directly in that interview, we all know what he is referring to. But wait, because it gets even wilder. During this interview, Justin started talking about how he's been taking too much and how he says yes to things out of fear, being a people pleaser, and how he's just tired of it all. Well, we all say the people pleasing bit is true because that 2 a.m. call was all the proof we needed that he literally bent over backwards to accommodate Blake's wild demands. Now that I think about it, we'd have had a completely different movie had Justin been the kind of person that stands his ground. But he just cuts people so much slack, so much so that his kindness has been his weakness. As we've now come to learn, things have been so bad for Justin to the point that he's been dealing with major anxiety, waking up at 4:30 a.m. with his heart racing. Y'all, this man is going through it. And just when you think that things couldn't get any worse, even the process of Justin and his legal team trying to clear his name hasn't been a walk in the park. Remember, not everyone is on his side despite the overwhelming evidence. Some people are riding for Blake, saying she wouldn't file something like this unless she had proof, while others are standing by Justin saying that he's being dragged for no reason. Basically, on top of everything, Justin also has to deal with the court of public opinion, and it's just been super messy. And here's where it gets even deeper. In the wake of dealing with all of these, Justin has even had to start reflecting on his past, admitting that he's made mistakes and that he used to put on a mask and pretend to be someone he wasn't. He even talked about his past relationships, calling one emotionally abusive and revealing that both ended in cheating. Like, this experience with Blake has Justin literally having to peel back layers to relive the mistakes of his 20s that he is not proud of. All of this to prove to people that even though he isn't perfect, he is also not guilty of any of these things. At the end of the day, whether you believe Justin or Blake, it's clear that Justin is struggling mentally, and probably a supportive family is what's keeping him sane right now. This is going to be a lot now that this situation isn't over. Not even close. And to think that we're not even anywhere close to the hearing date. Oh. Penn Badgley is finally exposing Blake Lively, and y'all, the truth ain't pretty. While everyone has been obsessing over her Hollywood glow up and perfect hair, the real Blake, the one behind the scenes, y'all, mean girl energy doesn't even begin to describe her. If you think I'm being dramatic, just wait until you hear how she tried to ruin Penn's career. Oh, but that's not all. We have to talk about Alabama Barker dropping a whole diss track on Bad Baby, and she did not hold back. Plus, the convo around Justin Bieber's past just got way darker with new claims that his own mom basically sold him over to Diddy. Y'all, there is a lot to unpack, so without any further ado, let's get right into it. So, Blake has been exposed for sabotaging her co-stars before, but the way she went after Penn, it's giving nasty. Imagine stepping onto a set, ready to work, only to find out that the lead actress, the one you're supposed to have a romantic chemistry with, hates your guts from day one and is turning the entire cast against you. That is exactly what Blake did to Penn when Gossip Girl first started filming. Blake straight up admitted in an old interview that she positioned the cast against Penn. Her words, not mine. She didn't want him there, she didn't like him, and she made sure that everybody else felt the same way. Now, tell me, what kind of mean girl behavior is that? And the worst part is that Penn didn't even do anything wrong. It took the cast a whole week to realize that Blake was just hating for no reason and that Penn was actually a nice person? Make it make sense. And let's talk about how this played out in the long run, because while Blake went on to become Hollywood's golden girl, Penn disappeared for a minute. He only recently started making a comeback with You, but after Gossip Girl, he was low-key blacklisted. And knowing what we know now, it's not hard to connect the dots. Blake's influence in the industry was no joke, especially after marrying Ryan the Dragon. She had the media eating out of her hand when she was rubbing shoulders with A-listers, and she had producers wrapped around her finger. So when she made it clear that she wasn't rocking with Penn, that was enough to tank his career. And if you think I'm reaching, doesn't this all sound too familiar with everything going on with the It Ends With Us cast? Besides currently being knee-deep in this whole messy legal war with Justin Baldoni, people noticed right from the movie's premiere that Blake, alongside other cast members, were suspiciously slicing Baldoni out, just as she had with Penn. Take Colleen Hoover's case, for instance. By the time the truth is out, she was so embarrassed that she took a break from social media and even thought of retiring. And even now that she's back, Colleen has wiped out any trace of Blake on her IG. No tags, no mentions, nothing. And Blake has responded by unfollowing Colleen. People have been wondering why other cast members haven't stood up for Justin, but considering how everything has been flipping, like Colleen, they are also probably too ashamed to have believed Blake.
But this could potentially be used in order to depose their co-stars, to ask, what was she saying versus what you actually experienced? Because they could hypothetically allege or try to illustrate a pattern of defamatory conduct.
Turns out that she's been playing puppet master for years, controlling the narrative and throwing people under the bus whenever it suits her. This woman has been called out by journalists, co-stars, and even fans, but somehow she always comes out looking squeaky clean. Well, not anymore, because between her past with Penn and this lawsuit with Baldoni, the mask is slipping and people are finally starting to see her for who she really is. Interestingly, with all the hate she has harbored towards Penn, imagine the shock on everyone's face when they started dating and held down a relationship for 3 years before Blake ditched him and ran into Ryan Reynolds' arms. In the now exposed raunchy messages she would send to Baldoni, some have even speculated that she kind of liked Baldoni. Same old script as Penn. Some believe that Penn is just another casualty of Blake's Hollywood power trip, and that at some point she purposely made sure that he never got the opportunities that he deserved. Blake might be a C-list actress who can't get things done without her husband's influence, but she's good at one thing, and we've got to give it to her. She's the queen of sabotage. 90 minutes is all it took for Blake to be dealt her first loss in court. Just 90 minutes. Y'all, things are getting real messy between Justin Baldoni and Blake Lively, and after this courtroom battle, Blake might want to start rethinking everything. Because, let me tell you, things are not looking good for her at all. Not only that, both teams were asked if they were willing to give mediation a chance, but they both said no. Interestingly, both sides had different reasons for why they cannot so much as entertain the thought of mediation. There is so much to unpack here, love, so without further ado, let's get right into it.
Like anyone else who would be going through a situation where you're accused of something that you did not do, and are suffering in a public way, I think it's distressful, to say the least.
As I have already mentioned, in just a 90-minute court hearing, Justin Baldoni already landed a major win. And to say that Blake's legal team is shaking is an understatement. And while this isn't the final verdict, it is a huge step in deciding how this whole fight is gonna go down. And from what we've seen so far, the only reason Blake's lawyers will let her proceed with this embarrassment is if they genuinely hate her. But before we dive into the new development, let's do a quick recap because at this point, we've got so many updates on this case in one day that you'd barely remember the details of the previous day's events. If anything, these two have filed and updated so many segments of their lawsuit, you'd probably be wondering which one I'm even talking about. Well, at first, it was Blake Lively hitting Justin Baldoni with a wild $250 million lawsuit, accusing him of some serious misconduct. Then, Justin, not about to go down without a fight, came swinging with a bigger $400 million countersuit, accusing Blake of extortion and defamation. He wasn't just ready to play, but went all in on Blake. And now, after months of back and forth, it finally landed in court, setting up one of the wildest legal fights Hollywood has seen in a minute.
And certainly more, evidence will come to light and more information will come to light. And I think people will see it in a similar fashion. From
the very first moment the court session started, Justin's lawyer, Brian Friedman, came in ready to eat. Like, he wasn't just there to argue, he was there to destroy. And the way that Blake's legal team started scrambling was both entertaining and embarrassing. They were shook. You see, when Friedman said that he was gonna sue Blake into oblivion, well, based on how he handled court, he meant every word. Blake's lawyers were so rattled, they tried to shut him up with a gag order, basically wanting the judge to ban him from making public statements about the case. And y'all, the judge looked at them and said, yeah, no. The judge straight up denied their request, and for good reason. Blake's own lawyers have been out here running their mouths in the media. So unlike in Blake's life, where there's no such word as fair, the judge ruled that there's no way they could talk, but Justin couldn't. This was win number one for Justin. And then it got worse for Blake. Her team just kept whining about how Friedman was giving interviews and making it hard for them to respond properly. Like, every time they tried to say something, Friedman was already out there dropping another bombshell to the point that they were clearly struggling to keep up. And yet again, the judge wasn't buying it. He shut them down and told them Friedman had every right to speak about the case publicly. Both teams were asked to agree to stop going public, but no one could stop the other, and Friedman took that to mean he should address the press more, because that's exactly what he did when he came out of court that day. But y'all, it was what happened next that sent Blake's team into a full-blown panic mode. See, Justin wasn't just fighting this case in court. Oh no. He took the battle to the internet. That's the time, just as Friedman had promised, that they launched a whole website dedicated to the case where he uploaded everything, videos, legal documents, messages, basically all the receipts that back up his side of the story. And when Blake's team completely lost it when they found out, they tried to argue that this could unfairly sway public opinion, but Friedman was ready with facts, reminding them that Blake was the one who ran to the media first. She went straight to the New York Times and gave them the whole story, while on the other end, Justin only had 12 hours to respond before they dropped a damaging article about him. So why is it okay for Blake to use the press, but Justin can't? Clearly, Blake is so out of touch with the real world that she thought that the judge would grant her wild orders just because she's related to Ryan Reynolds. That argument hit hard, and yep, the judge sided with Justin again. Another huge win for his team. But then Blake tried one more desperate move. She asked the judge to let her pick who would question her during her deposition. If you don't know, a deposition is basically a legal interview where everything you say is under oath, meaning if you lie, that can be used against you in court. And obviously, Blake was trying to avoid being grilled by Friedman because she knew he wasn't gonna let her slide with anything. So once again, Blake ran to the judge to demand for any other lawyer to depose her but Friedman, to which the judge said, absolutely not. He shut that down immediately, and we loved to see Blake's ego shrinking. She was informed that she had to answer questions from whoever the court assigns. No special treatment, no picking who she's comfortable with. And by the time the hearing ended, it was clear Justin won the entire day. Every single time Blake's team tried to fight back, they lost. Every attempt to control Friedman failed. Instead of stopping him, they only made him stronger. And y'all, the worst part was when the judge made it official that both of the lawsuits, Blake's $250 million case and Justin's $400 million countersuit, were to be merged into one case, meaning there won't be a long, drawn-out process. For some reason, Blake's team was not ready for this to go down as one huge, explosive showdown. And trust me, this was just the beginning. And if this first round was anything to go by, Blake is in for the fight of her life. Y'all, at this point, she has to ask herself the realest question of all. Is this battle even worth it anymore? Because let's be honest, this is no longer just about bruised egos and public opinion anymore. If she keeps going down this road and loses, she's looking at a devastating $400 million judgment. And that's not just a hit, it's a full-blown wipe out of everything she and Ryan have built together. That's more than their combined net worth, meaning that even with all of their success, they would be in financial ruin. Ryan has an estimated net worth of $350 million, while Blake is at the tail end of celebs' affluence with a net worth of $30 million. Now that I think about it, could it be that Justin thought about this before dropping a $400 million suit on them? Justin seems nice, but that's something his attorney Friedman would gladly pull. When I told y'all Blake could be done for, she will in ways she never ever saw coming when she started this. And speaking of Ryan Reynolds, we need to address his place in all of this because, and let's be real, even the most supportive husband has got to be shook at the idea of losing everything over this legal war. If Blake loses, it's not just her career that's on the chopping block, it's their entire empire. This isn't just some minor lawsuit that they can just brush off with a heartfelt apology and a PR rehab tour. This is a catastrophic financial blow, one that could force them to liquidate assets, sell properties, and kiss their Hollywood power couple status goodbye. And the worst part is that while Hollywood thrives in gossip and drama, it doesn't forget financial disasters like this. It doesn't matter how many box office hits you've had, once the industry sees you as a liability, it's game over. Ryan is probably having sleepless nights lately.
What did you think when you saw, Ryan, make light of the situation? I guess try to find some humor in all this.
I'm unaware of anybody, frankly, whose wife has been really harassed and has made jokes about that type of situation. I can't think of anyone who's done anything like that.
And y'all, let's not pretend like public opinion isn't already shifting, because it is, and both Blake and Justin are losing their hairlines over this one. Justin Baldoni isn't just winning in court, he's winning in the media. Every time he comes out on top in a ruling, it chips away at Blake's credibility. Right now, she looks desperate, like she's grasping at straws while Justin keeps stacking receipts. Hollywood respects power, and unfortunately for the Reynolds, the power is no longer in their hands. If they don't course correct soon, they're looking at a full-on exile from the industry. And as for Blake, she is just legit done for. Think about it. Who's gonna want to work with her after this? Studios do not like her kind of messy. Brands will run in the opposite direction, and any sane director or producer will think twice before attaching her to any project. Literally everyone will be too hesitant to work with her lest they get sued for breathing too loudly. Controversy isn't cute when it comes with a $400 million liability attached. This isn't just a bad look, it's a career death sentence. Don't even get me started on the long-term consequences, because even if she somehow manages to settle, her reputation is already on life support. And if she doesn't settle and she loses, y'all, it's a wrap. There is no bouncing back from a court ruling that labels you a liar and an extortionist in Hollywood. She is just not risking money. She is risking her legacy legacy over a battle she might not even win. Justin Baldoni, on the other hand, cannot back down. While some celebs might settle just to make a scandal disappear, that is not the move for him. His attorney even made it crystal clear in a recent interview that Justin wants a full determination that he did not engage in any of the behavior that he's been accused of. Until then, no deals, no mediation, and no shortcuts. Friedman said that Justin is currently in Hawaii with his family, not on a vacation as many may assume. According to Friedman, no one accused of serious allegations can ever truly relax. And even while dealing with this storm, Justin has still opened up his home to fire victims, showing the kind of person that he really is. On the flip side though, the industry has been keeping their distance from him since this saga started, and for that, he has lost a lot of work. Right now, Justin doesn't even have an agent after being dropped by William Morris Endeavor. Social media might be on his side, but Hollywood, ooh, not so much. Friedman also made it clear that Justin is not playing dirty. He's not taking shots at anyone, not exploiting legal loopholes, and not cracking jokes about his situation. We all know who is. His team is focused on proving the truth, not tearing anyone down. Friedman even added that the only reason why he took this case was because he vetted Justin thoroughly. He went through the texts, emails, voice notes, everything. And in his words, the truth will come out. This situation is bleak, but Justin is standing firm. He wants justice, not just for himself, but to prove that he is a good person. So even though he's currently kind of blacklisted in Hollywood, they rejected the option of mediation when it was offered in court because they know that things will turn around. For that reason, Baldoni is taking his power back because people-pleasing left his body after dealing with Blake. He is controlling the narrative by simply providing facts and not letting the courts do the work for him. Every win is on his side, and it makes it harder for Blake to ever recover. And if she keeps fighting without any real leverage, she's gonna become nothing more than a cautionary tale of what happens when you take on a battle you weren't ready for. And let's not forget, this is Hollywood. It loves a redemption arc, but only for those who play their cards right. If Blake keeps pushing when odds are stacked against her, she's gonna end up with no cards left to play. So what's next, in case you're wondering? Well, since the claims have finally found their way through the corridors of justice, expect more courtroom chaos, more headlines dragging Blake's name through the mud, and more L's for her legal team. At this point, we're witnessing one of the biggest downfalls in recent Hollywood history in real time. Blake Lively's cast members are done staying silent, and the way that they're speaking out about her manipulation, it is not looking good for her. First, Colleen Hoover switched up, and now Brendan Sklenar and Isabella Ferrer are keeping their distance. The vibe here is more like, the more this case unfolds, the more they are realizing they backed the wrong horse. And let's just say, Blake's Golden Girl era has literally crumbled before our eyes. Let's get right into it.
Also, the last time you were talking about the movie It Ends With Us, which has turned into a big major story between Blake and Justin. I'm wondering what you're thinking about that, processing it, navigating it. It doesn't involve you, but because you're in the cast, I'm wondering what you're thinking about.
Right off the bat, let's start with Brendan Sklenar, the guy who plays Atlas in the movie, the childhood sweetheart of Lively's character Lily in It Ends With Us. So recently, Brandon was promoting his other project, 1923, and living his best life when the inevitable question popped up: what was his opinion on the Blake Lively and Justin Baldoni scandal? And y'all, the way that he danced around that question was literally Olympic level dodging. He did everything but answer. He hit us with curveballs like, I just want people to remember why we made the movie line, blah, 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 blah. And people were quick to point out that when someone is dodging that hard, it's usually because they don't want to be caught slipping.
I just want people to remember why we made the movie in the first place and what it stands for, and just keeping the focus on that. Like that movie meant so much to me, and I have someone very, very close to me in my life who's gone through what Lily's going through for a long time, and I've been on the front lines helping her navigate that space. So that movie meant a lot to me. Yeah. And it means a lot to her, this person in my life, and it was one of the reasons that me doing that film gave her the strength to change her life. So like
You say focus on that.
Yeah, it means a lot to me. So it's unfortunate that things get taken away from what the ethos of that thing is, and it gets convoluted. And I just want to remind people of why that thing exists in the first place.
First off, isn't that what Justin Baldoni has been on ever since that he got the rights to the book? Even at the movie premiere, when the rest of the cast, Brandon included, were rocking florals and riding for Blake instead of focusing on the movie's actual purpose, Justin stood on business. Not getting banished to the basement, not the entire cast unfollowing him, none of that shook him. And now Brandon is basically just twisting Justin's words, but literally saying what Justin has been saying all along. This movie was made to be an impact, especially for the people who have been through DV.
Because none of that matters. None of it. That's not why we're in the business. That's not why the three of us are in this business, is to attend a premiere like that and be celebrated. We're in this business because we're artists and we believe in what we do, and because we want to create art that touches people's hearts and souls and can move people. And that's what we did. That's what you both did. And I believe that will follow each of us, and that truth will prevail, and that light and love will win.
So after all of the sides were taken, all of the drama went down, and all the damage was done, now the cast has suddenly remembered the movie's purpose, the same one they ignored, and chose to help Blake push her ineffective, overpriced shampoo? Huh? Thank goodness Gayle King decided to cut through the chase and hit the nail on the head. When asked directly if he was Team Blake or Team Justin, here's what he had to say. Anyways, let's listen in because it didn't stop there.
I would imagine at this point you're Bennett. You said I'm not in it, but are you Team Blake or Team Justin? He said, I don't speak English, Gayle.
I'm team it ends with us.
And he's Team Taylor and Paramount Plus.
Taylor.
Yeah.
Got a little nick on his knuckle there.
No. Congratulations, Bennett. I didn't expect you to end. I'm just messing with you.
There. He said it. He said, I am team it ends with us. That alone proves that the entire cast has jumped ship. And while they don't want to outright say that they're siding with Justin, it's probably just more politically correct for them to act neutral now, which, if we're being honest, is what they should have done from the start. But in case y'all don't see just how big of a deal this is, let me paint the full picture. And for that, I'm gonna rewind a bit because this is where things get super interesting. Back in December 2024, Brandon was 10 toes deep supporting Blake. He even reposted her legal complaint against Justin Baldoni on Instagram, adding a heart emoji and basically telling people to believe Blake at all costs. Fast forward a few months, and suddenly he's not so vocal anymore, and people are wondering why the sudden change. It ends with us. Actor Brandon Sklenar has been supporting his co-star Blake Lively after she accused their fellow actor and director Justin Baldoni of an SA and a smear campaign. For the love of God, read this. Sklenar wrote on his Instagram story on Wednesday while posting Lively's SA complaint against Baldoni and Wayfarer Studios. Sklenar tagged her with a heart emoji on Instagram. This is where we need to talk about how fast Hollywood will switch it up on you. At first, it looked like everyone was siding with Blake. She was the bigger star, the bigger name, and when she came out with these accusations against Justin, it seemed like an easy choice. But now the public opinion has shifted. People are looking at the facts, realizing that just because someone's a beloved actress doesn't mean that they're automatically telling the truth. And with more evidence coming out, a lot of people, including her co-stars, have been questioning if they jumped to conclusions too soon. And that's exactly why we now have a completely different response from Brendan Sklenar here, as he clearly has no more love emojis for Blake. Now let's talk about this whole staying neutral narrative, because we all know in Hollywood, neutrality is just a fancy way of saying, I'm waiting to see who wins before I pick a side. The cast members most definitely read Justin's lawsuit and are just treading carefully. Nobody is trying to mess up their bag over someone else's drama, especially when the legal jargon starts flying. But here's where it gets messy. Brandon's initial reactions have still stuck with people, so a 50% backtrack isn't gonna cut it. Once you make a stance in the court of public opinion, there is no turning back, whether you like it or not. So basically, this is gonna follow him longer than he imagined, because people will always want to know why he actively participated in taking an innocent man down. And there's more, guys. Brandon Sklenar is not the only one backpedaling. Isabella Ferrer, who plays young Lily in the movie, has also been noticeably quiet. She was originally following Blake's lead, but suddenly she's no longer here waving the Blake Lively flag anymore. And y'all already know how this plays out. When people start quietly backing away from you, it usually means they know something that we don't. Isabella Ferrer has been quite the character in this scandal, one that has been named in both Blake and Justin's lawsuits. Baldoni's suit contains screenshotted text purportedly from Ferrer, including that she thanked Baldoni for an incredible experience on her first feature film. She allegedly wrote, "You are such a wonderful, smart, and sincere director, and you created such a comfortable, safe space for me to feel like I could fully step into this role. I couldn't have asked for a more welcoming environment. It will stay with me for the rest of my life." Baldoni's suit continues. Tellingly, Ferrer worked with Baldoni when Lively was not on set. It was not until she spent substantial time with Lively during film promotions that Ferrer felt compelled to shun Baldoni in repudiation of her warm words. I've just remembered something Ferrer said in an interview on the day of It Ends With Us premiere. First of all, she was literally fangirling over just being in Blake's presence, and let's not forget her entire outfit that day, the floral dress, the bracelets, the shoes, all from Blake.
I need a shot of the outfit, so I'm gonna step aside.
I need to show
the shoes.
And then the dress, the bracelets, we got the earrings, everything. I feel it's crazy.
How do you feel? I know. Are you taking it off?
Yeah, I'm like trying to find words and I actually don't have any words. It's unreal, yeah.
First of all, you are so lily-coated right now with the outfit.
I had to.
Walk me, tell me the story behind the outfit.
Well, I mean, this is all pretty much Blake's styling. She's been my stylist, quite literally.
Not only that, Isabella had to stick by Blake, especially after Blake made it clear that she only got the role because Taylor Swift pulled strings for her, something we later found out wasn't completely true. So yeah, to be fair, Blake didn't just dangle her dragons over Baldoni, she had the entire cast, including Justin, wrapped around her little finger, playing by her rules, and they obeyed.
Taylor may have had some influence in getting
Yes, she did. Yeah, I know. I don't even know if I'm meant to be saying it, but I'm saying it. Yeah, she was a helpful part of the process of the audition, which I found out later after I got it, and that rocked my world. Yeah.
Well, Isabella has been high-key silent ever since Baldoni started producing evidence. Most people now believe that Brandon Sklenar and the rest initially backed Blake because it was safe to support her. Nobody wants to be labeled as someone who doesn't believe a woman in these situations, but now that people are seeing that things aren't so black and white, Brandon doesn't want to go down with the ship. Another issue that's been coming up since Sklenar's interview is the influence Blake had on the cast members. Clearly, it was greater than what Justin could ever do for their careers. If anything, the only reason Blake got away with so much was because even Justin knew his career could be on the line if he didn't play nice with her. That is exactly how we ended up with Ryan Reynolds' version of the rooftop scene in the first place. Let's be for real, going against Blake meant going against Taylor Swift and Ryan Reynolds, and there's a reason why Blake involved them in the equation. We're talking about people who have enough power to shift and shut entire careers. Like, if Ryan decides that he is done with someone, it's a wrap for them. So when people say, oh, the cast members are just waiting to see how this plays out, what they really mean is they are being careful enough to still be in the industry's good books when the dust settles. And honestly, I can't even blame them. The second you go against the machine, you better have an army behind you because Hollywood does not do loyalty. I mean, look at Diddy. Come to think about it, Blake's world must be falling apart right now because seeing Brandon's latest response literally means that she no longer has the backup that she thought she did. Remember, Colleen Hoover is long gone, most definitely just realizing she overplayed her hand. Hollywood is a game of alliances, and right now it's clear that her allies are getting fewer by the day. And y'all, this is only the beginning of the fallout. It turns out that Brandon and Isabella shifting gears paved the way for more people because Blake Lively's publicist, Leslie Sloan, also wants out on this messy lawsuit. She has made a formal request to be removed completely, of course, it's too late for that, but she has realized it's not gonna end well for her. For those who missed it, here's how Leslie got caught up in this mess. It was from Baldoni that we learned that allegedly Leslie Sloan was the mastermind behind the scenes, pulling the strings for Hollywood's elite. She is making power moves, cleaning up their messes, and making sure that their bad PR disappeared. That's exactly why Blake turned her down when she wanted to take Baldoni down. But at what cost? Because Leslie's name ended up getting dragged through the mud, and these new receipts are making her look even worse. Sources close to the situation revealed that Sloan had allegedly planned a cover-up to protect Blake from the consequences of her own own actions. The lengths that she's gone to, silencing whistleblowers, manipulating narratives, and even discrediting Justin Baldoni were staggering. Emails and leaked messages showed a clear attempt to frame Baldoni while keeping Blake's reputation intact. Leslie had no problem throwing anyone under the bus if it meant preserving her client's image, an anonymous insider claimed. She knew exactly what she was doing, and she did it without hesitation. This was probably around the time that Baldoni started getting bad press, something his lawyer has even included in their lawsuits. They've got receipts proving that the smear campaign against Justin was planned long before the New York Times dropped that disturbing article on him. Now, that's how powerful, connected, and ruthless Sloane is, allegedly. But suddenly she wants her name wiped from Baldoni's case because teaming up with Blake might be her downfall. But unlike Sklenar, Sloane is in the lawsuit, so she does not get to choose if she wants in or out. She's in. Not only is she set to testify, but she's about to blow through all the money Blake paid her just to cover her legal fees. Legal fees that, by the way, she's demanding for Justin Baldoni to pay. As more evidence surfaces, the truth becomes undeniable. Baldoni had been set up, and the real masterminds were none other than Leslie Sloane and Blake. Despite the false accusations and relentless attacks on his character, he stood firm, refusing to be just another victim of Hollywood's power games. And judging by how these cast members are jumping ship, Blake's claims are looking real sus. People's opinion have shifted a great deal since Justin started exposing Blake and Sloane, and the fact that people feel fooled has even made it worse for them. To make matters worse, Blake and Ryan were now scrambling to get Justin's lawsuit thrown out. Their legal team had already filed a motion to dismiss the $400 million defamation case, hoping to dodge the heat before things even got messier. But let's be real, this move was giving desperate. No such thing could happen at this point.
Why not take a bite at the apple, see if you can get either the entire complaint or parts of it dismissed? I don't anticipate any dismissals at this point.
Blake probably has not grasped how serious things were because she was even acting like she could pick and choose who got to question her. She straight up suggested that she might refuse to sit for a deposition if Justin's attorney Brian Friedman was involved, but newsflash, that's not how this works. Legal experts were already clowning her for this week's attempt, making it clear that no judge was about to entertain that nonsense.
Blake Lively has no power whatsoever to determine who's going to depose her. That's kind of a silly demand, and no judge is ever going to abide by that. She has to sit for the deposition.
At this point, Blake and Ryan's entire defense has been looking shaky. More and more people are standing with Justin, especially after stories surfaced about his kindness, like letting someone stay at his home after losing everything in the recent LA fires. Meanwhile, in Blake's camp, everyone is scrambling to protect their reputations by distancing themselves as far away from Blake as possible, even though the damage has already been done. And if this case moves forward like it's expected to, they are in for a rude awakening. What do y'all think? Are people finally waking up to Blake's manipulation, or is there more to the story? Drop your thoughts in the comments because I need to hear what y'all think.